Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with just 30 calories and no artificial sweeteners. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
K-pop Demon Hunters Haja Boys breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
Well, it's been a quiet week here in Lake Scabagon, my hometown. This week, Brock, Pete, and guest Squid Scott Teece sit down with Owen Thomas from the Elms. They chat about the vinyl box set, the value of interacting with fans, music after the Elms, starting Absorb, looking into the future, and more.
Hey, Brock.
Brock,
good evening. Dude? How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
Here we are. You got Scott. You're an honorary squid.
I love it.
Fun,
I want a T-shirt. I want a button.
Well, you can buy them at APHC.
I was going to say we don't get those. Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Happy National Beer Day, everybody.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I got
today. The day of recording. Dude, I just had one of those.
Did you?
That's my favorite flavor.
I'm gonna order some more online because these guys do it the best by far.
I think so. Yeah.
So what do you got going on? What do you got there, Scott?
It's an athletic brewing company. I've been trying different ones. There's a couple like around town that do a decent job. Yeah. But if you go online, like there's a bunch of different styles, and every single one of these guys that I've had have been real good. So
sweet.
Yeah. So
I remember years and years ago, I was thinking to myself, it'd be great if like all the NA beers didn't suck. Like what if somebody who like knows how to brew beer and knows how to brew for flavor actually made a non-alcoholic beer, and here we are.
Yep. Wow. My really good buddy of mine was a brewer for like 5 or 6 years, and he just kept talking about the technology not being there yet, because essentially it was the same thing for almost every type of NA wine, beer, whatever, is you essentially had to boil the alcohol off, which essentially boiled the taste away. But now the technology is there where you can remove the alcohol instead of boiling it off. So if you go to a liquor store, like my wife doesn't drink, so she's been trying different NA wines, and they're actually good now.
Yeah. Does she have one she likes?
What is it? She sent it to me the other day. It was like Waterbrook or something.
Okay,
Yeah, Waterbrook, but they're all alcohol removed, not de-alkalized, because the de-alkalized one is just the boiling off.
Yeah,
those
pasteurized, basically, right?
Exactly. So the technology's come so far, and there's some pretty good and some pretty bad ones around, but by far this is the best one I found. Of course, at Costco, it's like $30 for $22. I'm like, all right, I'm in.
I am enjoying, or about to enjoy, a Furnace Fest little hot pond hazy.
Nice.
Because we are a Furnace Fest podcast. I brought out my one can of from last year's festival, and I'm going to enjoy that for National Beer Day.
Nice.
And I'm not usually a beer drinker, guys. You know me. If you listen to this podcast at all, not usually a beer drinker.
Not usually. Yeah.
I'm not. No, or a more of a cider drinker, and then of course your bourbon. But because of National Beer Day, I'm gonna enjoy.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you. Owen is.
It looks like Owen's here, yeah, or at least OT, which I'm assuming we don't know
OT.
anyone else by those initials that we're expecting tonight, so we can assume it's him.
Right? Should we let our
you guys ready?
Our new friend in?
I'm ready.
You guys, all right,
Let's do it.
Ready? All hands in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, hands in and team.
Let's do this.
There we go.
Team.
Fabulous.
Yes, let's go.
Owen, how do you do?
Good. You see me?
Sweet. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very fine.
Rock and roll.
You got a full-on pro studio over there. You got a hi-hat in the background. This
I'll
is beautiful.
do a solo for you.
Please.
Whoa.
I do a lot of programming these days, and I feel like the real hi-hat is kind of the trick to keeping a little bit of organic kind of, if you got a program kick and snare, but you got a real hi-hat, then hey, it sort of makes it feel a little more natural or something like that. But how are you guys? Brock, how are you?
Not bad.
Dude?
We're great.
Not bad. Good to see you again.
You too, man.
Thanks again for that rock show.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
Of course. It was. Yeah, it was a good time. It was like so fast. It's so fast. It came and went so fast. It's crazy. You know?
Absolutely.
It's good to meet you. Looks like Scott and Pete. It's good to meet you guys, man.
Yes.
Likewise, Owen. Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
Pete Hutchison is the other full-time Squid, the full-time Pickle Home companion, co-host, co-anchor. Two of our guys are out tonight, so we have honorary Squid Scott Teece, who he's like our podcasting cousin. Is that the best way to say it?
Yeah,
that's a good description. I'm humbled to be asked to even be here, much less with Owen. So thanks for having me.
Dude. Of course.
So all three of us have heard the Elms, and we're fans. Okay. So that explains our presence.
Cool, man. Well, that's that.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I got this guy, so
there you go.
I mean,
dude, thanks so much for checking that out.
Please, my pleasure. I've had this stuff on CD, but I'm stoked to have it on vinyl. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You know, it's funny with that. Like, we made that box set. We were the shows we did this year. We were going to do in 2020, and it was crazy because it was like we did a bunch of stuff. We put out a little B-sides record and then made the vinyl, and then we're going to do these shows. Mm-hmm. And then the shows just got wiped, and everything got wiped because of COVID and stuff like that. And I'm really weird about this stuff. It's like I've always got to have a reason, sort of an anniversary or some semi-symmetrical thing that makes sense in my brain to do anything. So like a 21st anniversary concert just doesn't make sense to me. So I was like,
legal drinking age, right?
Totally. Yeah. So I was like, well, I guess we got to wait 5 more years to do this, because then so when we made, it was so funny because we made those and the whole thing was to put them out at the show and stuff like that. So I'm glad we finally got to do that.
I don't think I realized that. I'm glad to hear kind of the backstory, because it does seem like you didn't necessarily, it wasn't something you wanted to do, to just drop it out there into the ether and hope that they sold. But that's the way the world went.
Well, you never, I honestly, I feel very grateful that our band, existed and was so fun and has so many people who love it and stuff like that. But I'm also like super realistic about ordering vinyl box sets. I'm kind of like, well, these things take time and then they're expensive and you want to put them out and make sure they go. And so it was just kind of funny because like, well, okay, we'll sell what we can sell. And then in 5 years, we'll sell the rest.
Yeah. There we go.
Vinyl will still be popular, probably more popular in 5 years.
Oh man, and it's I feel like it's at an all-time high. It just seems like people are so pumped about vinyl now, which is awesome.
Fascinating.
When I read a stat, Brock, isn't it? Brock, I think you might have sent it to us, or Jared did, about how vinyl had sold more in the last year than it had since it began the decline.
Yeah, like the bell curve is on its way back up, and I think ever since, what was it, like 91, 92, the major labels stopped making vinyl records, and they thought they'd never come back. There was always a couple of little indie houses making special runs and that sort of thing, but like when the CD went away, a lot of people wanted to grab onto something physical, and it seems like more and more people, maybe it's just the circles I run in, but it seems like more and more people are disillusioned with the fact that, this band that I used to like is no longer on this streaming service that I pay for, and it turns out they could just take them away. It's like the Netflix effect, right? Where like it used to be they mailed you DVDs in the mail. You put them in a machine and you watch the movies at home. Ridiculous, right? But then
old school.
The internet said you can have anything you want anytime, and we did, and then we didn't. Then they took it away from us small piece by piece, and they were about to take Friends, right? And Friends was the thing that broke everyone's cultural backs. They were like, no more.
Michael W.
That
Smith.
was it. Yeah, they said we're going to take the Michael W. Smith special off of streaming, and people said no more. This and no farther.
No, but they said a lifetime is not too long, bro. Okay.
Enough people.
That's a great song, I'll tell you.
Oh man,
is it now? But now I didn't see that.
I've sent a lot of friends. I've sent a lot of friends off into the sunset to that song.
Oh, the 80s. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
End of every summer.
But what we were talking about is the Elms, the complete studio albums on vinyl. Mm-hmm. And last I checked, there are copies available. Last I checked. Okay.
Yeah, they're almost gone. I'm really grateful for that. I think there's maybe like a dozen left or something like that. But just today we sent out a few more, and it's what's crazy is people still discovering the band for like you'll get this thing and it'll be like, dude, it just found you guys. Looks like I'm a little late to the party, and you're kind of like, hey, well, there's at least enough for you to check out and dig into. So that's kind of cool, and people still seem to be discovering and still appreciate it. So that's really cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, how rewarding is that?
It's super rewarding. It's I'm not sure if I told you, Brock, at the show, but the first night we played. This is we did 2 shows in last September, and the 25th anniversary shows for people who don't know that. But the second night, the first night was really cool and hung out with people and stuff like that. And after the show, but it was a lot of people who wanted photos and things like that. The second night, there was just this kind of line of people who just wanted to talk about what the music had meant to them. And I mean, guys who were there with their kid going, this is their first concert. You were my first concert. This is their first concert. And then just,
cool.
And just these really wild stories about people, who maybe have lost someone that they loved over the course of the last 10 years. And every time they listen to the records, it brings them together again. And it just, all these different stories that's the stuff that maybe I'm just getting older. But that stuff is just so incredible. Like, I just can't believe that this music could play that role in people's lives. And then there was just this long line of people. And I probably spent like maybe 5 or 10 minutes with each of them, just listening to it all. And I think I was able to walk away from that second show just really feeling like, wow, what a special thing that we got to do this again.
Great.
That's
I think we had Tom on a while back, and I forget. We also had Tom on. Well, it's not your podcast either, Scott. It's Caleb's podcast. So, podcasting cousins again, talking about.
Well, dude, I can't wait to listen to it. Yeah, I can't wait to listen to Chess Hotel.
Yeah, just dropped today, I think, as of recording, and this one we're going to drop this one in like a week or something. So,
you guys are prolific.
I know, it's crazy.
We do need to start our own podcasting network.
That's right.
Yeah.
You could do it. You could do it.
The Internet Friends Network.
Somehow we'll do it. Yeah, that's right. Go talk to your Internet Friends Network. That's not long at all.
No, I was just mentioning that I think the fact that you guys hung around, Owen, and you spoke to everyone that wanted to say hi to you. You guys were a popular set of fellas. There were so many people that wanted to say hi. I think both nights, and I was impressed by the venue because the venue was willing. Hi-Fi Indie. If anybody's ever in town, it's a great place to see a show. Nice. Great production, great environment, real low key, relaxed, not too big, not too small. Good place for a rock show.
Sure.
But yeah, no, you guys were there, and like they were just. Yeah, I mean, eventually they started to usher people towards the door, but there was never like like we're kicking you out sort of situation. So yeah, no, you guys spent a lot of time, and I think obviously it meant a lot to me to meet each of you and shake your hands and that sort of thing in person after listening to your music for 25 years, and so yeah.
Likewise. Well, they're great people over there, and they knew how much this meant to us and how rare it is for us to do this. So they were just like, do whatever you want and let us hang out as long as we wanted. And what's interesting is that. And I still work with a lot of artists even nowadays, and that post show kind of interaction was something we just always did because when you're in a working class band, it's like that's how you make your living is to go out there after the show and shake every hand and kind of like, so you get to know people, but you're also like, hey man, the likelihood increases exponentially. Yeah. That somebody walks out with a T-shirt if they get to meet you. That's right. And so it just became just part of the...
And they like you.
Yeah, dude. And so there was this really nice reciprocity of gratitude and of practicality. But we had this system when we were touring back in the day which was very... it was very lasered in. It was like as soon as... Especially if we were doing like a support show, we would wrap up the set... I would put my guitar down on stage and beeline right out to the merch, and then the guys would wrap up their stuff. Phil, our tour manager, would come up and pack up my stuff, and then they would all join me out there. And it was just like that's how you made a living. You could either go out there and meet people and chill and get to know them, and then sell 300 CDs, and then or you could all go backstage and drink and sell 5. So we just got so hardwired towards after every show that's what you do. You go out. And so even now I tell people like, that I work with, it's like, hey, anytime, until you absolutely can't anymore, you got to go out there and you got to hang out with people and let them support you, but then also really try to be present and listen to what the music means to them. And you walk out with a lot of wind in your sails about the work that you do, because a lot of it can be very, very soul crushing without the fortification of those people letting you know that it means a lot to them. So
yeah, like the gears of the music industry are going to chew you up, right? I would assume it's like the thing that makes the machine go is not pretty. And I love that if you're an artist, you got to fill yourself up with the compliments, because they're all going to come from the people who listen to you.
Yeah. You got to, and just try to grab onto the stuff that they're telling you. It's also really easy to hear enough, compliments or something that you kind of go like, oh, cool, man. Cool, man. Like,
right.
But that's, like I said about the second show in particular, I just really went, just be here for these people, just be here and just talk to them. It just really, and it lifted me up and edified me in a way that I think was very reciprocal there too. And so, it's special stuff, man. I've got heroes in my life, and I've got music that has meant so much to me. And just, it's still, like I said, working class band. The fact that it could mean so much to some people was really interesting. Really cool stuff.
Can I ask what are some of the things that you heard from your fans? Because I feel like I could ask you dry, sterile questions about the band, about the history, that sort of thing. Some of that's out there already. But in terms of like what people told you on the nights that you did your 25th anniversary shows, what did you hear? What are some of the things that rise to the top?
You didn't play the one I wanted you to play. you can't escape.
Always.
Yeah. Everybody wants that one obscure thing that's tucked away somewhere. We kind of decided before the show, it's like, hey, let's go out there and like keep it moving, and we all, the guys trust me to kind of be the sort of like the adjudicator of what goes on the stage, and so it's kind of like before the shows happen, it was like, well, what are we going to play? Or how deep are we going? I said, I don't think we're going too deep. I was like, let's just play the ones that are moving, the ones that we're most likely for people to want to hear. And I was just like, I don't want to have to learn like 60 songs like again, like after all these years. I was like, so but no, people were just what people were saying was just I don't know, just how intrinsic this thing was to their lives, because we had people there who have been to 50 or 60 or 70 shows, and almost how that part of their life, they met their wives and they met their best friends, and they don't say, and so the community around it was, I think, what most people wanted to talk about, and just how the shows were sort of a way for people to come back together from all their, they've all moved to different places and they've all come from all over the country to be here at this thing. And it was like a family reunion maybe type of thing. And I think that's what people really appreciated the most about it was that people, it was an excuse to kind of go and hang out with all those people who you might have seen, all the time, going to all those shows throughout the course of a year. So that was something, and again, I'm really proud of that kids could bond over something, and that we could contribute to those relationships getting formed. So, people just otherwise regarding the music and stuff like that, people were just like, oh man, it sounds like it always did, and going like, well, my voice didn't feel like it always did.
Oh no.
You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you're out there singing and you're like, wow, God, I did this 200 nights a year sometimes, and but we started rehearsing, months out, so that I was rehearsing it here in my studio every night, just trying to get my voice back up to speed, at least enough to
because you got to do it at least twice.
Right.
I was gonna say, even just for 2 shows. Yeah.
For sure. And I used to be wilder on the stage. I used to scream a lot. I used to do all this kind of stuff, and my voice never went crazy on me. It was just really, I got really lucky. One time I was, I don't know. You might have to bleep this or something like that, but Chrissy Hynde from the Pretenders?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one time we played a show and we were opening for them, and I saw her backstage. I was a huge fan. And I said, hey, would you mind if I get a photo? And she was real cool about it. And somebody came up and said, hey, the show starts in like 15 minutes. So if you need to do vocal warm-ups or anything like that. And I I went, I don't really do vocal warm-ups. And I looked at her and she goes, they're for
I mean, if she said it seems like she'd be an authority. Yeah, she would know.
I was gonna say, she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man. And I was kind of like, good. At least I'm not the only guy, out here who's not blowing into straws and doing all this stuff.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
Well, it seems like, I mean, because I did a little bit of singing with a group, but I don't think I ever warmed up anything. Like, it was just like you go out, you do what you do, and it comes out the way it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there is an art to it, and like, some people either have developed the way that they can really make their voice come alive or something, but other people just I feel like for you, Owen, it seems like there's a force of nature behind your voice when you want there to be, and that I think that does what it needs it to do for the performance. Like it serves the song, because this song I'm just thinking about, was it the Chess Hotel, is that the title track? It was like the second show, you're like, if I sing this song, we're not singing anything else after this.
Yeah, right. Because the whole outro chorus is just pure screaming. And and it's not like that kind of like emo scream. It's not like the guttural thing. It's like McCartney screaming.
Yep.
Yeah, so like like all this kind of stuff. And so that would shred me nowadays. But back, I don't know. We do that stuff all the time, and it was like fine for 10 years. I just feel really lucky.
Yeah, and if you have like muscles developed or whatever, it's just like you wouldn't go out and run 26 miles at once if you hadn't run for 10 years. But if you did a lot of running, you'd probably be up to the task. And you were doing a lot of running, on at least tour wise on the stage.
Oh yeah. We I think we played a total of probably 1,100 shows or something like that in 10 years. And I don't feel like it was never like. You'd be tired because of, say, being away from home for months, but I don't recall a time ever being on stage and feeling, oh my God, I'm just too exhausted to do this, whatever, adrenaline or whatever. I did play one time with it. Did Tom ever tell you that about when we rolled a van off the road in Memphis and all that
I
stuff?
don't.
Oh my!
Because that gave rise to some of the songs, right? Like there's some inspiration there for later, but I don't think we talked about that in detail.
Yeah.
We did not get to that. No.
Well, it's not. I'll make it quick, but basically, we were just driving through Memphis, and it was kind of an unseasonably cold time in Memphis, and Tom was driving, and our van, and last thing I remember is just hearing him go, "Oh no, oh no, oh no," and then I have fleeting memories of everybody yelling at each other, and "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And then I just woke up in this hospital in Memphis, and severe head and neck trauma, and I was sitting in the front seat with him, and I didn't have a seatbelt on. It was just stupid, and I just put my head right through the windshield when we rolled that thing. We hit some black ice on the road that he couldn't see, and we just rolled the thing right off the off the interstate. And I woke up in the hospital, and then so we had a show the night after that accident. We had to cancel, but then the night following that, we had another show that we played, and I was pulling off this neck brace and putting it on the side of the stage and walking out to play.
Wow.
They're like, don't do anything for a month. And I'm going like, I got to work.
I don't know what kind of job you think I have, right? But it doesn't come with PTO.
Yeah. No, it does
That's
not.
intense. I don't think I realized you got back to it that soon. That's
crazy.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of it's crazy.
Yeah, because that was what You Saved Me was the track that you wrote after that.
It was, man.
Yeah.
I felt very felt like, this should have been much worse.
Yeah. And me and my guys in my band saw you back in 2003, I think, when you came to Portland. There weren't a lot of West Coast Elms shows, and so that was like this one. It was like a private gig at a youth conference. It was like, I remember a friend of mine was like, I love the Elms, I would love to see them. I was like, I don't think I can get you in, man. I think it's like this private thing. In retrospect, like nobody was guarding the doors. He could have just showed up, but
sneak on in, baby.
I had this moral crisis about it, but no, we were there. We saw you perform, and I think like that had probably just happened in the past couple of months. And so you told the story and played the song. It was quite something. That's a great, and the way that you folks performed that one at the 25 show was great. It was just night 2, I think. It happened once. But man, that was like an 8-minute epic. It was like all good, so good.
Yeah, and I just really, it was a song of gratitude to God and for almost like saving my life. we change over time, and we think about different things over time. But that night at that show, I just felt right back at that time, like right where the impetus of that song was very real to me that night. So don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't know. It just felt very, very visceral.
I wish each of the rest of you guys could have been there, because that was a lot of fun. I know Tom had like a board recording or something that he shared with me of that song in particular, and so I know that there's at least audio of it, and
sure.
I got some handheld whatever footage or whatever, but it was real good. It was nice to be there in that. I think it's interesting that as a performer, you kind of get to dictate the feel of the room. You get to pull the mood one direction or another. And like you say, you were feeling it. You were like feelings coming back perhaps, and you were taking us with you. Is that a common experience for you as a performer? Did you get the sense that you were telling people where to go or giving them an invitation to feel something?
Yeah, I really like that about being a performer. That was probably my favorite part about being in a band, was like the frontman thing, and just kind of like the conductor of the orchestra, and I was just such a huge fan of Freddie and a huge fan of Mick and Steven Tyler. And then there was the subtleties in the performances of guys like Tom Petty, who just always was so grateful from the stage. And I would just be I just feel like I learned so much and was just enamored with those guys, and the task of being put in front of an audience and feeling like you're the vibe conductor. And I feel like I if I could do it all again, I would just be much more present. I just feel like I would go out there at times and be very perfectionist about the whole thing. It was just the way I was as a younger guy, and so nowadays I pursue excellence over perfection, and but it's been a very disciplined thing for me I feel like I'm probably on that OCD kind of spectrum somewhere, and that just always permeated the work. So we'd be in the middle of a show and I'd hear one little mistake, and my brother would play one little ghost note wrong, and I would turn around and look at him like James Brown would to his band.
That's a deadly stare.
Deadly stare. Well, and he's and my brother's facing an audience.
Sure, right.
So he just has to, he can't really retort with the same ire that I'm throwing towards. I'd turn around and I'd look at him and go, "Get your shit together, dude. Right. Get it together." And he'd be looking at me going,
"Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you say."
yeah, and so I just really I wish I was just a little more like, just go out there and have fun. And it was. It's not like it wasn't. That's just, when we did these shows, it's much more now. I feel like I know that my value system is a little bit different. And so it's interesting, the energy of youth when you're in a rock band. You're out there fighting for your life every night, and you're full of megalomania. You just think you're the greatest thing of all time. You're like, I'm the lineage of Bono. I am the lineage,
the next link in the chain.
Dude. It really does. You have this thing, especially when you see The Promise and you see people reacting, and you make a record and you feel it coming together, and then it's not even ego. It's more than that. It's like, it's a calling. It's this thing where you feel like my destiny is to be in the great lineage of great frontmen. And I actually went to see Bono. Do you remember when Bono did a tour, probably in 2001 or 2? He went and toured the States to talk about the AIDS crisis in Africa.
Yeah. Yes.
And I had a buddy who went to a church, and they were going to have him, and it was in Louisville, and I went with him. And I was sure that when he walked out on stage, that there would be a spiritual impartation from him to me of frontman greatness. Like I was like, he's going to walk out, he's going to see me, he's going to go, you're the next one. You're the next one.
You've been chosen.
Yeah.
It's four letter first names. I mean, Bono, Owen, you're good.
He's wearing a leather jacket.
Owen, Matthew, Thomas. I have 3 first names.
Come on.
So what do you think of that?
Come on.
And I know this because I like leaving comments on TikTok and stuff like that. And I left this comment that was a response to a video one time, and this guy commented after mine and said, "Dang, you just got because I kind of left. It was a comedian, and it was like he likes to get burned and roasted in his comments, and I left a burn, and this kid goes, "Damn, you just got roasted by a guy with 3 first names." Like, that's true. That is true. That's true. But yeah, so suffice it to say, I saw Bono do this thing, and it was really weird because him outside the context of his band, he was a totally different person, and he was small, and then he started playing a song on the acoustic guitar. He played one song, and the beat for the song was like on a recorded, like on a boombox, like in a little stereo, and they put a microphone, so this like little programmed beats just like playing on the boombox, and he's playing guitar, and everybody starts clapping along. He's like, "Stop clapping! I can't hear myself, so you can't clap." And it was just like, what? Whoa, what?
Hold on a minute.
Whoa!
He's human.
Turn up the boombox,
dude. Yeah, not the boombox. And then his pants, like one pant leg, I'll never forget. He walked out, and one of his pant legs was tucked in his back shoe, and I was like, "What? Like, what is going on?"
You have a person for that?
Yeah, don't you have a person? So yeah, but anyways, all that to say that the frontman thing was really my favorite part, and there were times that you would feel this harmony. All you had to do was like put your hand up, and the audience would swell and move and do these things. The best to ever do it was Freddie Mercury, obviously, but he would just do these things where you would just make the subtle gesture, and the audience would rise with you, or make noise with you, or you would just turn and give them a look, and they would just feel it so intensely. And it was really, really, really cool. That was so much fun, and that's when those moments were the ones when I felt like truly present and keyed in, which, I think that's almost like any really great artist can. I feel like presence is a really part of the skill set, to be able to walk out on stage and be right there, right in the moment, not thinking about how does it sound, what are the ramifications of the show, are my strings going to break, am I playing good, do I look cool?
right.
All of that just isn't with you.
Right.
All that's with you is this communion. And putting yourself right inside the songs, and Bruce is really good at that. You know what I mean? So, anyways, thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, some people have the sauce, the magic to make it all happen.
They do,
and there is something cool that, like, if you have that power, control, influence, whatever it is, and you can use it for good. Because it goes both ways, I'm sure. Like, there are ways that you could manipulate people. You could like make them do things that maybe they shouldn't do. You could give them feelings that aren't genuine or something. But to be able to lift a crowd together, and I feel like that, from what I've heard, that's what the Elms did. So it's really neat to have that in your history, I think.
Yeah. I think we did it our best, and I think that just learning that gift, that the importance of being right there and present is so key.
Yeah.
And we talked with Tom a little bit about kind of the experience, being on Sparrow Records versus being off Sparrow Records, and some of the dynamics there. You said, obviously, like, it's been a long time since then. You've done a lot of other things. So apologies if I'm asking you about something you'd rather not talk about or whatever. But
no, man,
I am curious about the dynamic, because it seems like, Sparrow was trying to do something, and it was a really good place for you guys to launch, a good place to start. You had tons of support, it seems like, but also a place that you eventually had to move on from. What was that transition like for all of you?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think at the time we had a bass player named Keith, and whenever I got the call from Sparrow that we kind of were it was kind of this, in essence, the industry term is you get dropped from the label, which means they call up and they go like, we don't see any commercial viability here anymore. But I think that also we had been sort of feeling like we don't see any commercial viability here either.
You're not going to like this next record, yeah.
Feelings mutual, sir.
Yeah, and it was super cool when the president of the label called me up and he goes, "Man, I just don't know that we're the right place, and we got mainstream labels asking about you guys, and there's going to be people out there who I think our video was being played on MTV," and he was just very frank. He was just like, we don't know what to do with that. We know how to put records on top 40 adult contemporary radio, Christian music. That's kind of our lifeblood here. And if but all your opportunities are opening up in the mainstream. We don't know what to do with that. And so, okay, well, cool. Then we'll go, whatever. And so we went out and found a label who could help us with that. But yeah, it was, are you interested in, or are you talking about the transition from that industry, or are you talking about the personal feelings associated with that, or
either one?
Any of the above?
I would imagine both are interesting in terms. And we talked a lot about kind of the path that you took from you going, from I guess like courting labels and finding that you had representation that had ulterior motives and that sort of thing. So I know we told some of that stuff, but just in terms of finding your own personal expression, I would imagine that you probably felt like you could be more of yourselves and you could do more of what you felt like you needed to do off the label than on.
Yeah, I mean, when we left Sparrow and got on the next label, they just really just said, what do you need? Go and make the record you want to make. And they just weren't even, aside of coming around, the guy who signed us was a guy named Van, and he came to the studio and was just hanging out. It's weird. It's like a great A&R staff at a label, I think, does offer insight curation, things like that, to try to distill and refine what the artists, at least the great record men of the age, they sit there and they look at a band, and the band's like kicking ass over here doing this one thing really, really well. But then it's like, the guitar player comes in and writes a song, and he goes, yeah, but I like polka, so we're going to do one polka song. And the A&R guy is the guy going, we're done with that part of what you guys do. You got to focus on what you do well. And you got to, at least in theory. Now, over time, what has happened, you were talking about manipulation earlier. A lot of times young, impressionable kids come in 17, 18 years old. They can sing really well. They look great. And they're just so happy to be approached by a label or something like that they'll just do whatever they tell them to do. And so, somebody writes all their songs for them, and they pick the producers, and they do all that kind of stuff. But then ultimately, if an artist isn't intrinsically involved in their own work, then it's almost like clockwork. Like 5 years in, there's like an identity crisis, and they feel like the world doesn't know me. I'm 25 years old and nobody knows me, and I almost feel like that was kind of like, Britney and Justin Bieber and a lot of these people. You'll see it just play out like that. So with us, it was interesting. Van just kind of knew what we did best, and he just let us go make that record, the Chess Hotel. And it was really cool of him to do that. And on Sparrow, they were honestly, while we were there, they were great. They let us kind of do our thing and definitely weighed in more, I would say. But we kind of all knew that at the Christian label, we knew the destination. Like, we knew it was like, yeah, they're going to want songs for the radio. Right. And
I don't hear an inspirational CCM single.
So, not really, man. Not really. But all that to say, we just felt like, man, Tom probably told you the same thing, but it was so glaringly obvious that we weren't meant for that. He might have told you, forgive me if there's any redundancy, but we did this tour called the Festival con Dios tour. Did he tell you about that?
Yes, the big.
But I want to hear more, because that festival intrigues me to no end.
Yeah, me too.
It could just, the way that it was set up is, I was a teenager at that time, and it didn't come our way. So I'm like, but you see all the promos about it, and it's just intriguing.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's about a dozen bands on the tour, and the headliners are like Newsboys and Audio Adrenaline, these big Christian bands. And and before the tour started, I got the guys in the band, and I said, we're going to rehearse every day for 3 months. We got like a 4-song set. I said, we're going to rehearse these 4 songs for like months, because we are not going out on this tour. We're not going to be the crappy band. We can't go out there. These are serious bands with serious audiences. We can't go out there and be the bad band, the crappy band. And so we just rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed, and we knew those songs in our sleep. And then we got out there on that tour, and I went, okay, I'm going to go check out the competition, because it was I had this thing in my mind. It's like, I call it competitive support, right? So you're friends with all these guys in the bands on the tour, but you also want to wipe the stage with them every night. Like, you want to go out there and annihilate and destroy their lives.
It's nothing personal. It's just competition.
It's nothing personal. I want the best for you. I want the best for your lives and for your family. But tonight, I want to crush your soul. And I went and I stood at the front of house console and watched all the other bands play, and I didn't know what was going on. Like, I was like, we've been rehearsing the wrong thing.
Wow.
it just felt like all the other bands were so into audience participation and call and response, and there was a lot of tricks, and bands would have fireworks out there, and they would have roller skates on, and they would have signs and like, hey, when we say this, you say this. And we were just like, all our band, we were obsessed with Oasis. Like, we were obsessed with Tom Petty, with the Black Crowes and all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And all the bands that I loved that were Christian bands primarily were like these underground bands like Starflyer 59 and Poor Old Lou and bands like this. Yeah, I would go see these bands play, and they'd be playing, in a coffee shop or in a church basement. And so we kind of came up through that school of thought.
And they were very cool.
Yeah, they were very cool, but they were real bands.
There were no pool noodles. Or
no,
it's like you said.
No.
Or drummers drumming upside down.
No, none of that stuff, And so I went out and watched all these bands play, and it occurred to me that we had been almost like rehearsing the wrong thing. If we wanted to succeed in front of this audience on that festival tour, we would have had to completely adjust and augment the way that we approached music. Because all we wanted to do was go out there and be a really muscular rock band and be tight and make the songs good and feel like we were just connecting, and then that would be enough to connect with an audience. And it wasn't. It just truly wasn't.
Oh no.
Well, no, you'd go out there every night, and you'd play, and you would definitely make fans. But then you would see another band play who was, could barely keep it together musically, but were really good at this kind of audience participation thing and just crush. And and so after about the second show, we all sat down as a band, and I said, what do you guys want to do? And we all just went, let's just do our thing, and whatever happens, happens, and we'll find another tour, and we'll go on and we'll do something else. And after that, we went out with Jars of Clay, and that audience kind of got us way more. And then, and then we started getting calls from other people. Not a lot of Christian bands though anymore. It just wasn't, So all that to say, even on that tour, the first day, the guy who was one of the front of house engineers, he walked up to me on the festival tour, and he said, you guys are the best band out here. And I went, wow, man, thank you. He goes, yeah, you're never going to make it in this industry.
Brutal, honest.
Such a compliment. Yeah, it's difficult to hear.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and I remember hearing that compilation, and that's,
sure.
I bought the compilation because you always go for the mix. You always go for the compilations because you want to check out new bands, and and Hey was on there, so I hadn't heard you guys yet being growing up in the Adirondacks, and I'm like, what is this? This is cool. We didn't get the tour obviously, but I knew a lot of those bands were great, so I'm like, this is, if I like these bands, I'm gonna love this. And then I kind of dove in more. And I know Hey's not necessarily like the rest, but it's
totally
it was a cool gateway.
I love that song.
It was a great gateway.
I really do love that song, and I love every iteration of our band. Just because there was never a part of it that was just like, I never felt forced into by any label. I never really felt, hey, you got to make a certain type of sound that's going to be a certain type of vibe because this is what's hip or that's whatever. We always did what we wanted to do. And Hey was just a very last minute, we finished that first album, and the producer said to me, you got anything else you're looking at that you want to throw in the hat before we kind of send this all off to mix? And I got this down. And he was like, well, that's cool. Let's try that. And then it was like, oh, we got to cut that too, so, but it was always very, I never had the experience with labels where it was like, hey, you're being forced to make a certain sound or forced to make a,
right,
or at least I was too dumb to notice it, So
and what I loved is that the fact that was the gateway, but then as I dove in, it was like, I personally love a band that can kind of switch it up a little bit and still sound cool. So what you're saying about the iterations of the band, it's still connected,
cool,
and that and I dug that. So
thanks, man. On the backside, Brock, of this whole thing was basically like we felt like for a long time, for those first couple of years, it's like nobody wants us around here. Nobody really. You found out once in a while you'd find this. You cobbled together this fan base of people who were kind of like the rock and rollers that existed in that world, of which there weren't that many, and they kind of dug us. But then otherwise, and it would just suck to be at a show, and you're playing something and you got a Rolling Stones shirt on and some gaggle of like white moms comes up to you and they're just like, we bring our kids here for a safe experience and you're playing guitar solos, making them think of sex. And I'm going, what are you talking about? Like,
I know what you mean when you say sticky fingers.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, and I'm going like, well, what are you thinking about? So
yeah.
Right.
It was just really,
they all wanted a safe space.
Yeah, they wanted that safe space and all that kind of stuff, and that's totally cool. You just felt like every, in those environments we were just getting run out of them all the time. Like get out of here. So
yeah.
So, but what was interesting about that, just those were all really budgeted events. So you talk about seeing us at some private event. Well, it probably was a budgeted event that guys like us can make a living off of. Well, you go out and you jump into the general market and you're just playing clubs. And that's just a totally different world. So, you're much more like, okay, this is the rock and roll lifestyle here. Like this is the real.
You get 2 drink tickets and then your door cut gives you one more drink. And that's about it. Depending on where you're playing, what's going on.
100%. And so, that even, I think, fashioned our sound for a record like the Chess Hotel. It was just like much more like you were fighting for your lives. And it was just kind of like a go for broke type of energy when we made a record like that, because there was the safety net was kind of like, not the same. It was just like, okay, we're going to have to go out here and start over and prove ourselves in a different way, where the upward trajectory isn't just about like, hey, in Christian music, it's like if you had a good agent, you'd go out and you'd kill it every year and you'd make a bunch of money. And then you got an agent over on the mainstream side, and it's just like, hey, you're going to spend the next 2 or 3 years just really grinding it out. And but man, it was all cool. It was all cool. I feel like I learned a lot. The interesting thing about our band, and who knows, maybe we'll tell this story kind of like sometime down the road, but it really is an interesting story about a band that kind of rode right along the arc of the advent of the internet. When we started, our first record came out in 2001, our first full album, and that was the year that I think NSYNC was selling 2 million records a week. 2 million CDs a week. It was crazy, like crazy. The pure apex of the record business. And then within like 3 or 4 years, it was just like, it just cratered, And so we not only left this one industry where there was a big identity kind of conflict, but we also were doing that right at the time that the whole business was changing and everybody was trying to wrap their minds around this thing called the internet. And then we had business things changing at the time. We had some management things going on at the time and some untoward things there. We just didn't agree with them ethically on a few things, so we had to go a different direction there. And it was almost like everything that could kind of be changing for a band at any given moment was. And so it was almost like finding our collective footing never really happened in a business sense. And that's just a really interesting little kind of case study in what it's like to be a working band along the curve of technological change and the curve of relationship change, the curve of almost like identity change and all these different factors. And I think the whole time, you're still living in a small town, and it's just really interesting. I think that there's a lot of cool little anecdotes and cool little lessons in all of it, which fortunately now I get to sort of pour that stuff into, other artists and on our label side and other artists that we work with and stuff like that, where I can go, there's almost no situation that arises with them, with a young artist that I can't go, that happened to me once. And then I can say what I did right or wrong,
Yeah. This is what I did when when that unfortunate event happened to me, or this is how I climbed that hurdle, or what have you.
Yeah, man. It just at a point in my life where I'm more than happy to be wrong about anything. Like I love being wrong about anything because it means, oh God, I learned something, And there was a lot to learn then,
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about, like, obviously Elms had a good run of it, and it was a good, what, about 10 years or so before you decided you weren't going to tour anymore. You weren't going to make new records. You moved on to some other things. I was just texting with Tom about the solo record that you put out on. And that was a really great project. I don't know that a lot of folks necessarily heard it. Was this when you began your own kind of creative media publishing agency?
Yeah, I needed a project that I could put out that could kind of be like, okay, I get this. One thing that when I was in the Elms, when I really fell in love with it was aesthetic design with our band, and I always wanted to make sure that the record sounded and looked and kind of felt a certain way. So we talked about what we wore, and we talked about the kind of gear we played and what kind of videos we made and who took the photos. We all wanted it to have a feeling. By that point, I'd become obsessed with like Trent Reznor and stuff like that, and he was just the greatest at creating an environment and an ethos out of his band. Depeche Mode was great at that. U2 has been great at that. You know, these bands that create these sonic and visual universes, and I really love that. And so when our band ended, I felt like I don't really want to make music the way I have in the past. Almost like I didn't want to be in a band anymore. I kind of was like, if I can't do it with these guys, I'm not going to do it. And not to say that I couldn't make music. I just knew the framework wasn't going to be totally like the blues based rock and roll house, you know, kind of guitars, drums, and bass, and the way I'd always done it. But I also had fallen in love with the visual side of it. And so I was like, okay, I need to put a project together that can at least be a start towards exercising this. So I'll just do my own record. I had gone through a really kind of soured breakup and had all these sad songs, and but also got really healthy because of that experience. And so I was like, okay, so I want to put those songs. I got a bunch of songs that I like, but I'm going to record them with some keyboards, and then I'm going to make some loops, and I'm going to do some different things that I never had done. And Tom did that all with me. So there are guitars, there are drums, there are all that. So Chris played on it and all that. But then it also has different sounds. But I also want to have a little bit of a showpiece where I do the photos, I'll do the design, I'll do the films, I'll do all of it. And so this will be a good exercise for me to get going on kind of what my idea is for my next chapter in life, like how I can help people put this stuff together, and how important it is that you get the music right. But then also I do think that the identity side is really important for artists to kind of have a vibe. And that can change. But I think of it like a globe. It's like an artist is like a globe, and some days they're over here playing in China, and some days they're here in Brazil, and some days they're up here in, you know, Alaska, but it's still the same globe. And
different sides
of the same globe,
different aspects. Yeah.
Right. So I wanted to do that with my own music and go like, okay, that's what I mean. I can put something together and help you do all of it and make sure that it all makes sense. So that you do all this work, and then really the goal is that some, you know, kid who likes music would just see it and go, cool. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, and that was me, because I never got, so I was late to the game on the Languages project, and it's Languages period, right? That's the full title. There's punctuation in the title, which I suppose I need to ask that question now too, because I don't think I've ever heard you talk about the punctuation, but Elm songs also had a lot of punctuation in them, which I believe needs to be there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I'm just a huge fan of punctuation. I think it's elegant. Yeah. And I'm just a big design nerd. I love it. I've worked with some of the greatest designers, and I'm just a fan of great designers, especially Swiss design and the hierarchy of design and things like that. So every time it's the prioritization of thought. And a lot of people think of design as almost like this artistic experience, which it's really not. To me, it's an organizational task. Not to say that it's not creative, but it's just an organizational task. I love that. I love that about it. So I love taking something that's wild and reckless and artistic and going, okay, now the design is how we help people understand it. Even if they're not meant to understand it, and it's an abstraction. Well, then we got to get that right. you know? So all this stuff is really fun for me, and I get to do that with my shop now, and that's what we've done for artists for years, and then started our own label where we could kind of deploy all these creative energies. And from the outset with some of the young artists that we have signed, they can get their identity right from the get-go. And you just, it's a matter of sitting down, talking. What do you like? What are your tastes? What do you hate? What movies and what artists and what do you like about that film? Well, it's the way it made me feel. It feels dark. Okay. Or it feels, it makes me sad, but not all the way sad. There's a little hope. Okay. And you just kind of pull all these things together and distill it all into what an artist is. And then you tell that clearly and efficiently with design. I love all this stuff. And it's kind of a passion of mine,
Yeah. And Absorb is the agency. It's Absorb with a period,
yes,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And so the first one I think that carried the label mark for that was the Languages Project.
Yeah, right.
I finally heard it in 2019.
Yeah.
I apologize, but
man.
I think I'm
just glad you heard it at all.
I think probably when it came out. But then I remember I was like, well, the Elms. I think I probably went through my first revival of listening to the Elms in about 2019 or something like that.
Cool, yeah.
After years of I'd listened to you a lot in the early aughts.
Sure.
And then I came back to it with that. I was like, oh, hey, there's this Owen album I've never heard. And It was great.
Thanks,
like you said, it was really interesting, I think, in terms of, because you could hear the through line. You could hear your writing and your voice in it, obviously, hear your vocals because you sang. But like the way the songs were written, everything, it sounded very familiar, but with a lot of new texture, a lot of new context, things that you wouldn't have heard in an Elms song, because that's not what the rock band would have done. What a very cool presentation. I mean,
Thank
just
you.
like Tremble, for example, is a very beautiful song. Just incredibly like that. I can listen to that and close my eyes and not have to open them for a long time.
Sure.
It's an amazing mood. And then gosh, I'm blanking on the title, but Thinking About You, that's got such a bounce to it.
Yeah. That had a loop on it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And that was the first time Tom and I had ever messed with loops and stuff like that, and got out keyboards and things like that. We had B3s and things like that. And there are a couple songs that I think we have loops on, maybe on our early records with the Elms, but I don't know. I was just like, when our band was over, I was just like, I just kind of want to take a wrecking ball to the way I've done everything for the last like 10 years, the framework of my thought. So like, for example, now, I mean, I write on guitar, but I barely play guitar anymore. It's all synthesis now. It's all like, old analog drum machines and synthesizers. And that's just kind of a frontier for me that I feel that felt like, okay, I needed something totally new to be inspired by, but I write on guitar. So, but yeah, those, thanks for listening to that, Brock. And just for those kind words, those songs meant a lot to me. And actually I listen to that record once in a while, and it's been a long time, but when I do, I go, there are some things, particularly lyrically, that I really liked, that were kind of like really sad but funny. Like I was like, my life sucks, but it's kind of hilarious.
Yep.
So
if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah.
And we're not going to cry right now.
No,
so yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So I tried to like be a little bit buoyant about the heartbreak, because really that record was supposed to say, hey, you know what? No one makes it out of this alive as it pertains to heartbreak, and we all get hurt. But really, that's kind of life handing you an opportunity to really calibrate who you are. And I feel like there were moments of intimacy in our band, but a lot of that was power. A lot of the band's kind of stance on things was almost like what we were trying to do was bring a certain type of lyrical fortitude or strength and try to almost like keep your chin up. Whereas with this record, with the solo record, I was just like, I'm down. I'm hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in the middle of the ring and I just got beat up and I lost. And yeah, that was kind of cool too. Cause the small town aesthetic was really heavily imbued into our band. And that's like the small town kind of thing, is just like, just keep going.
Yeah.
And then my solo,
you're bootstrapping it. Right?
Yes. And then and we were a working class band, right? But then my solo record was like, I can't. I can't. I'm hurt and I'm down and I just need to recover.
I need some loops behind me right now. I need some sweet keys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some sweet synth pads.
That'll make me feel better.
Yeah. And they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Now, so I was going to say Dan Ficker is another big Elms fan. He was on the other podcast with Caleb where we talked about the Chess Hotel in detail, and
I gotta go listen to that.
He was the person who he was the only person I've ever met who had a physical copy of the Languages record.
Okay.
And so, first of all, I was like, if this isn't too much trouble, could you like take detailed photographs of every piece of the package so I could see it? Because I'd never seen it. I was like, I got to know like what was in this package, because I knew it existed. Someone had said somewhere that, oh, you can get one, but like, of course, it wasn't for sale online or anything.
Yeah.
And can I tell people that you gave me one, Owen? Because you
whatever
did.
You want. Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't expect Owen has more to give. I think it sounded like you had to go search one out, but
yeah.
But it was like you were saying, in terms of like a complete package and being able to see different sides of the thing. The music is beautiful, but I'd only ever heard it, through streaming.
Yeah.
And so to be able to see, like, it comes in this it's not a 7-inch envelope, but like a brown envelope, and the cards are inside.
Mm-hmm.
There's a disc in there, but there's also like 10 trading cards or something, like oversized trading cards with photographs of you and the lyrics and the credits, and like, it's just this fascinating, the sort of thing that, like, if you have the time to dive into it, you could be there for an hour just reading stuff, and it was very cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, that was all just super. Like, I found the envelopes are. I'm trying to remember the exact name of the paper, but it's that kind of heavyweight.
A brown craft paper.
And I found a girl in Portland who made those things by hand, and I said I need them to be about a little bigger than a CD, enough to fit these postcards in, and found her on Etsy. And
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. I would say I would give you her name, but it's been 15 years.
She's probably all out of the craft envelopes. Yeah.
Yeah. She went on to found a little paper company called Hewlett Packard. No, I don't know.
Dude. A subsidiary of Dunder Mifflin.
Right. I should have said Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah, you're good.
But yeah, she made those, and then I went down to the print shop here in town. I said, "Hey, I need this. I need these postcards made, and I'm gonna get the." Told them, "Okay, yeah." And I said, "But I also need the ink on it to be. I want to make sure when I touch the paper that the ink kind of rises up off the paper, and they were like, "Oh yeah,
there.
Yeah." They're like, "Yeah, so like a debossing," and I'm like, "Yeah," and all this kind. So, but it was all very hands on. It was just like made those things and then stuffed all the envelopes myself and did everything myself. And I had at the time I had a roommate, and we had a pool table in the house, and it was just like the pool table became the manufacturing line, and I was just every night I was up there stuffing those things in there, and yeah, man, that was just a cool thing to be able to make and kind of go like, all right, I'm going to see this thing through, and then I'm going to make some videos with no money, and I'm going to hang my side. A song called Houdini on there, and I made a music video for it in that apartment I was just talking about. We had a balcony, and I had two of my friends stand up there and tie a rope around my ankles, and then I leaned over the balcony, and I had gotten a straitjacket, and so I got myself out of the straitjacket for the video, like the Houdini trick, and it's just so unsafe, but it was really really funny to do.
But it paid off. It's a cool video. I remember that. Man. That was my catching up with Owen 2019. Sure. I was like, wait, is there anything else on here? Found the video. It was a very cool video. Very cool concept.
Thank you. Well, yeah. I thank you for listening to that, man, and for just noticing it, and it was my favorite story about that record about because Tom was living in an apartment at the time, and he was the only we've just always been best friends. He's the only guy I could wasn't going to do it with anybody else, and I didn't have the capacity at the time to make my own records, and we made it all in the closet of his apartment. We cut a few of the drum tracks and stuff like that at a guy's house, but it was just such a humble little experience and huge. Like in my mind, it was like this huge, ambitious thing, but was such a humble time in my life because I was coming out of my band and I, didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wanted to try to start a company. And A few years ago, I was over at that club, the Hi-Fi, where you saw us play, and this kid came up to me, he goes, "Are you Owen?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, I thought he might, the band, because I get that all the time, people with the band, and he goes, "How does it feel?" And I go, "How does what feel?" He goes, "To have made the greatest breakup album of all time."
Amazing.
And I went, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Languages?" And I went, "You've heard that? Like, what is what?" And he goes, hang on. And he calls his girlfriend, and he goes, "You're not going to believe." And so she said, and I went, "Well, obviously it wasn't an effective breakup album if the two of you, if the two of you are still together." So,
right.
But yeah, that was kind of cool.
Oh my gosh.
And so, but yeah, some people found it, and I think that there's a lot of honest little songs in there.
That's great. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So Absorb kind of bloomed from there. And I think the same time, 2019, I listened to Languages. 2020, the world shuts down. And I start listening to all the old stuff I used to listen to.
Yeah.
And then Tom and I start becoming Instagram messaging buddies. We just like trade messages for like 3 months or whatever.
Sure.
And so I was, doing a lot of thinking about the stuff, but I was like, I got to check out the new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that his solo record, was that an Absorb affiliated sort of thing as well?
Well, we just kind of like anything Tom does, I'm going to help him if he needs me, so it's like we got designers here and stuff like that. And, so he was just like, "Hey man, will you help me with a guitar? If I've got a song I need guitar, I just call him up and I go, I may need guitar, we have our own currencies, Tom and I.
There you go.
But yeah, like, so anyways, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was like an official sort of Absorb sort of thing, because I think that, he made it all himself. We just came in, I think, and just said, "What do you need visually from us?"
Right.
And so we just kind of gave him all
album
the
cover, get some images.
Exactly. All the stuff that he needed, help him distribute it, make sure it gets out there and all that kind of stuff. So.
Right. Yeah. So I think that might have been the first thing I heard, but then that tipped me off to Absorb and to Byam, who I think is one of your flagship artists.
Yeah.
And Frank.
Yeah.
Like, those are the two I remember, I think, finding first.
Yes, they're both really, really cool kids. They're both in their mid-20s, and Byam's like a pop artist, and Frank is like kind of like this grungy sort of alt artist, and both have just had some incredible things happen, some incredible audiences, and the growth is really there for both of them, and now they're starting to get all this industry interest, so we're getting calls from the major labels and things like that about like, "Hey, what's going on with this?" And and so these things it's just really cool. It's really cool. And the thing I'm most proud about that, though, is they come in here every week on Tuesdays to sit down and just talk about their lives and what's going on, talk about where they want to go in the future, and then they come in on the weekends and we write music. And so it's just a very holistic, these are my friends. We do this every week. We're in it together. It allows me to kind of do one of my favorite things, which now is just to help with the songwriting. So I feel like with young artists, the impetus for the idea, for them to really be into it, has to kind of come from them, as opposed to going, "Hey, I had this idea for a song." They tend to like not find themselves in it as much. I think when you get older, you kind of understand, okay, I can find a way to put myself into somebody else's material.
Right.
But the lifeblood of this of the younger artists is that you got to write about stuff that's real to you or that you have a perspective on, and then it's really easy for me to help them land the plane. So they come in and they got this like little fragment of a line from a chorus. I'm like, "That's really cool. Like, what do I do next?" And it's like, it's really easy for me to help them just finish a song. It's just, that's not, at this point, that's not a threat to me. It's not hard for me. It's kind of like, I've written a bunch of songs and I can help you land the plane on this. You just tell me when I'm doing something you don't like, and so that's what kind of I do. So they come in with these ideas or a verse, and I go, "Okay, this is what or a lot of times what I'm finding a lot of times with not just our artists, but with a lot of artists, is they write to loops now, because we used to I'm still old school in the way that I write. I sit down with a guitar, whereas a lot of kids now,
and a tape recorder,
and a lot of kids now are writing. It's almost like the production leads the way on the writing. So they'll go in, they'll find a sample or a loop, and then they'll just loop it over and over and over and over. Mm-hmm. So what it kind of lends itself to is almost like, if you need a different chord structure, say when it comes to a pre-chorus or a bridge, they might know that that the music needs to go there, that the feeling of the music needs to change, which is often dictated by chords, but they're kind of bound to a loop. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So they've got a flute loop, or they've got a piano loop or something, and it's playing in succession. But then it's like when you get to the pre-chorus or the chorus, it's just like somebody to come in and go, here's where a minor seventh would be really helpful, or here's we're going to the fourth, or adding an inversion or a certain color of a chord to just make it a little sadder, or it needs a departure melodically, and this chord that you're writing to won't allow for the evolution of a melody. But if you let me just stick this chord in there or that chord in there, then you can see how there's a whole. So it's stuff like that. They come in and they'll have written to this chord progression or a loop or a beat, and then I can help them kind of in an old school way go like, all right, so it seems to me like right here something needs to change. And it's almost like the proficiency for a lot of young artists is less in the playing and more in the programming. You know what I mean? Like learning how to run Logic or Ableton or something on the computer is like what learning to play the piano was when I was a kid, So they can make full songs. But if you have a little bit of a bent for something like McCartney or Paul Simon or Leonard Cohen or something like that, or because you can certainly ask Tom Petty, you can get good work out of repetition. But
that's right.
You know what I mean? But it's like, but if you ever need a little bit of a different change in the color of the song, I can come in and kind of help go, there you go. How's that feel? And they go, yeah, that feels like what it needs to do. And then it's really fun to do that and just take their ideas and just help. Do you want this to feel Shakespearean, or do you want this to feel apocalyptic, or do you just want this to feel like hype and like Post Malone, or just and then just kind of like, woo, just help them navigate that,
Shakespearean Malone, please.
Love it. I love Post Malone's music, but that's an example, very, very repetitive, right? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like very repetitive.
Loop based.
Loop based. Yeah. And that's kind of and those guys are incredible at what they do. But that's the kind of nature of a lot of modern music, is that it's kind of this repetitive thing. And a lot of that is super cool. Yeah. But I do think that there is still value in chord progressions changing and doing different things like that. And
right. Complexity.
Yeah, and some unfolding of a melody that really. T-Bone Burnett, I heard him say this thing one time. He said, melody is nothing but cauterized inflection. Ooh. And I went, talk about something.
Gotta think about that one.
Talk about saying something I've been figuring out, like trying to figure out how to say my whole life, But sometimes the inflection, the melody needs something different. Tom, the way that Tom puts it, this is one thing I love, because Tom is just an absolute animal, a maestro of his instrument. And he would always, when we were making songs, he would always speak to me in descriptive terms other than musical ones. So he would say, I really want this song to sound like winter. Or he would say, I want this song to sound like the bottom of an oil barrel. Or he would say, I want this song to sound like sun, like the sun. And he would say things to me like that. And it was a vernacular I totally got. You know what I'm saying? And then what he had the capacity to do is play a chord and add one note and go, now it sounds like winter. But if I remove that finger, it doesn't sound like that anymore. That's what I love about music.
Yeah. Well, there's so many ways to approach it and attack it, because you've got the technical side, you've got like the classically trained, like I can read music, I can do all this really proficient technical stuff, and then you've also got like the absolute, like if it's only technical and there's no feeling to it, there's no soul, then suddenly it's devoid of something it needs, and so like it has to have a bit of both, otherwise you're not there.
Totally. And that's the great kind of challenge, I think, of the electronic instrument for me, is like, how do you give this thing soul? Because really it's a bunch of oscillating.
Because you can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. You can, and you just have to adjust things and automate things or play. It's different than a guitar, but you can actually soulfully approach these instruments. And I don't know. I could talk about synthesizers forever and stuff like that. It's been a really interesting color on the palette for me, which has just been really inspiring, and almost like I feel like sometimes I'm making something I've never heard, because the possibilities are so kind of endless, and I love that every time I make a song now, it's kind of like, okay, how can I make something I've never heard? Being in a rock band, I think you're trying to go, how can I make something that I almost feel like will stand up against my heroes? So it's just a little bit of a different.
I've heard this somewhere before, right? That's the thing you're going for.
Yeah, and we would, and I reference, we would reference records all the time. We put on the Black Crowes, like By Your Side, or we would put on Wildflowers by Tom Petty, and we actually hired a lot of the guys who made those records because we loved the way that they sound. Here's just for what it's worth, engineering when we were in our band was just like this amazing skill set, making records. I remember Daft Punk talking about making Random Access Memories and how they wanted to make an album that sounded like it was made in the golden age of record making, like from the late 70s and early 80s when the engineers in the studios, and I had such a huge reverence for engineers because I knew that producers helped with the architecture of the whole vision, but the engineers were the guys who made the sounds. And so we would call these guys up and go, will you come and help us get those sounds? And I was talking to somebody recently and they said, hey man, it was an engineer that I worked on a record with. He goes, hey man, could I get some credit other than engineering on this record? And I went, okay. Yeah. What, like about some programming credit or yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be great. Why? And he goes, because I just feel like it's just a guy who runs a computer, And so now it's almost like the trade of being an engineer is so much less about like putting a microphone, a capsule in front of a speaker or putting it in front of a snare drum or getting the rattle on the bottom head and then getting whatever. And it's almost like the word engineer has kind of lost its luster, it's become a glorified tech job.
Sure.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. I thought best boy grip.
Yeah. Technical. I'm just here to push the buttons. Not really. Whereas in my mind, it was like, God dang, the engineers were the ones.
They drive the train.
Yeah, they really were. They were the ones. It's like if this record has throb to it, it's because some guy knew what he was doing in that studio.
Right.
Well, there's a lot to know about how to record, at least like how to record analog stuff, because like microphone placement is very much a thing, right?
Sure.
Like, and I never thought about that once as like a young kid, even after I got my Tascam 4 or Tascam 2, making multi-track recording, that sort of thing.
You still got that?
Like it was always, I lost it years ago. Yeah. I wish that I did because they're just expensive enough that I'm not going to buy another one, but I wish I had it. So it goes. But yeah, no, I just remember like learning how to record and learning how to push the buttons is one thing, but then learning how to like actually get decent tone because like, if your guitar sounds like crap, it's probably because the microphone is in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Or if you want to get a certain character, like you were saying, out of a drum, if you put a microphone right on a tambourine, it's going to sound like it's not going to sound like what you want the tambourine to sound like. And so all the different things that go into it, like it's much more, details. It's a detailed job that people don't quite understand if they're not in it, I suppose.
Totally. And especially if you're, putting a band together. And then the other thing is just like, I've always been really insecure about my guitar playing. Like, I feel like I'm just like a wood chopper on the guitar. I can write songs with it, but we'd have record. I think our last record that we made with the Elms, I just played a little bit of guitar, but mostly I was like, no, we want something that's a little sonic, a little more cinematic sonically, a little wider and whatever. So I was like, Tom was cutting 2 guitars, you know what I mean? Now the Chess Hotel, that was all just like mostly live, but the last record and, I've had times where I've just taken like my guitar off and unplugged it from the amp, and he just plugs into the same amp and plays. Sounds awesome. And I'm like, I just played it and it sounded like terrible. And then he puts on the guitar and just plugs into the same amp and it sounds awesome. And so it is interesting though. But so a great engineer, I feel like goes, that's a really good player. So how do I maximize that? We were always such, I think at one point, we had like so much gear. Like we used to have like, I'd like, tons of guitars and amps, and I've gotten rid of a lot of them now because they were just sitting around. But it was like, we used to love that part of it, and love getting guys in the room who had made these records that we love, and them sitting there in front of the amp and going, wow, man, yeah, they really know what they're doing. And so maybe that's like, I guarantee you that there are guys out there still doing that work and just doing really, really, really excellent work. But so much of it is in the box now,
Yeah.
And so the thing now, it's almost like the new pursuit now, which I'm guilty of myself, is like there are sample libraries and things like that, and sample VSTs for these recording programs that are meticulously recorded instruments. Abbey Road strings. Well, it's certainly not the same as getting a bunch of people to go and play custom music for you at Abbey Road on like an orchestra.
Right.
But the sounds are as pristinely recorded as they're gonna be. You know what I mean? And so now you got to go in there and go, okay, so how do I take this and program it, but make it sound real and, and all that kind of stuff. And that's actually
right. Because you're sitting in front of a computer, right? You want to like plug it into a grid. You want it like, I want this particular string sound here, but I want it to sound like it's real.
Yeah. And I'm to the point.
You
can with enough time and with like enough patience, and you just have to kind of offset the effort versus the reward. Cause it's like, okay, I need a really, really awesome live drum take. Well, then I'll call my brother and we'll go do it. But if he's not available for 2.5 weeks, I'll go, well, I'll sit down and program a live drum track. And, with a week, I can make it sound pretty real. It's weird because it almost sounds like the antithesis of having been in a rock band. Like, screw that, man. That's not real. But to me, it kind of is, it's like, it's just a different trade. Yep. It's just a different type of thing, and a lot of the systems that I use and a lot of the sounds that I use were played by really, really incredible musicians, and they're just offering it to the world as a way of going like, hey, if you got the time, sit down and make your own drum kit out of it.
Different skill set.
Yeah, it is.
And you're approaching it with the same level of meticulous attention that you would like the felted pool table and the envelopes and the light pressed cards and all that sort of thing. Like you're taking all those things and you're very intentionally putting them together, as opposed to like pushing a button and letting it loop all by itself or whatever. Like you're very intentionally building something with different tools.
And if I get to an impasse and I'm going like, I just can't get it there, then I just go like, I'll just wait for Chris to open up time for him to get there, or I'll find a drummer or whatever, and because sometimes you kind of go like, all right, I just can't make this make sense in my mind. It doesn't sound real to me or whatever.
Which, by the way, got to say, like, you're a very fortunate fellow to have Chris as a brother, because having access to such a great drummer. One of the things I always loved, and Pete, Scott, either of you ever see the Elms live? I was trying to remember.
Yeah, but I think I got to see them at I think it's either I went to 3 major festivals. I went to Creation, I went Inside Out Soul Fest, and I went Kingdom Bound, and I don't know if you played any of those, but I think I saw. I know, yeah, exactly. So like, I know I've seen you for sure. It just all rolls together. Why'd you go to Kingdom Bound? You're from New York State, right? Yeah, we were going to get into this a little later. Yeah, but yeah, it's I'm from New York State, and I went to Houghton College out in Western New York. Okay, so we'd go all the way out there and just go. That was being in New York. Kingdom Bound was the place to go for sure, and then we'd have a little festival, a little offshoot that they did in Glens Falls. So they would do Kingdom Bound: A Great Escape, and so because they did that little offshoot there, then everyone's like, oh well, I want to go out to the major one in Rochester or that area. Yeah. So I went to all 3 because I was equidistant to like all of them. Yeah. Well, do you know I'm from Buffalo? Yeah, I did. Yeah. So the Bills. Yeah, I see that Giants thing in the background going like, whatever. I'm a Giants guy, but I love the Bills too. Okay. Well, I'm like, if it's not, Josh Allen's got to do it in the next couple of years, I think. It's
closing up.
Don't you think?
And congratulations, he's a dad. He's a dad. Yeah, officially.
It better not be a distraction, Mr. Allen.
I know. Come on. Better not. Yeah. It's already a distraction. You got married.
I was talking to somebody. Yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day, just like going like, he's just such a great dude. Like, Yeah. And I'm not even that into sports, but I'm always, why I'm into the Bills? Because of a thing called post-traumatic stress disorder. Yes, and when I was 4 in a row, from the time that I was like 9 to 12, those years, I was so into the Bills, and then I just like gave up, but then in the last few years, I've gotten back into it. But the thing that kind of reignited my interest in sports was we got this girl here I'm from Indianapolis now. I live here in Indianapolis, and Caitlin Clark plays here for the Fever, right? That's been so exciting. To just witness the advent of women's sport, because I have artists who maybe we'll sing the anthem or something at the stadium or whatever. And
sure.
I went to a women's NBA game with an artist who was going to sing the national anthem at the Fever game probably like 8 years ago. And we went into the field house, into the arena, and there was probably 500 people there in an 18,000 seat room to watch these girls play. Interesting story about that night. It was the Fever were the first women's basketball team to join Colin Kaepernick in kneeling and protesting during the anthem. And that night that they did that was the night that I was there with an artist, and she was out there singing the national anthem, and I had my hand on my chest and I'm looking at this girl sing, and all I'm thinking is, don't screw up the lyrics. Is this like I never sang the national anthem because I was like, I'm not doing this. It's too.
Yeah, it's a tough gig.
It's a tough gig, and it is too big of a liability. Too much respect for that song. I have too much respect for the task and for the people that pull it off, right? But I don't know. And I'm just sitting there thinking, meanwhile, the whole time this the team of girls, the Fever, is kneeling on the opposite end of the court, and I didn't even notice it because I'm sitting here lasered in on center court. I walk off the court and back into the dressing room with the girl, and there's a handful of other people around, and my phone just bang, 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 and I look at it and like my friends are all like, "Dude, you're all over the AP, ESPN, all this kind of stuff." Like, what's going on? And so I it turns out that somebody took a photo of the girls kneeling, but it was from all the way down the court. And I mean, like right through where I was standing at center court to try to get a photo of them. And I'm just standing right in the center of the photo for this thing. It's like the photo's about me. If you look at the girls are in the background kneeling and all this stuff. And so it was just like this, I'll never forget being there that night though, because of that. And that because that post went kind of like viral and everything, but then also just there was nobody there, and I was like, man, I can't believe this. And then Caitlin comes along, and I was just like, it's just insane. Yep. And so, but then last year the Pacers, I got this buddy, and he called me up and he said, hey man, I know you're not really into sports and stuff like that, but you should emotionally invest in this Pacers thing because this playoff thing is getting really exciting. So then I go, and we're going to watch every.
You buy now, it'll pay off.
Yeah, and I like we start going to watch all the games, and they just have buzzer beater after buzzer. Tyrese Halliburton, bam, bam, like all. It was just so lit. It was so fun. I took my nephews to they were out of town for a game against Thunder, game 1 of the final series, and I took my nephews up to a watch party at the arena. And he hit a last second shot, and my nephew, my sweet nephew, Benny, the arena is going bonkers. And we're just watching this on the screens. I turn around and my nephew is crying, like he's bawling.
Oh.
And I go, Benny, are you okay? He goes, I'm so happy.
He was invested.
He was invested,
yeah.
Man. He was 8 years old at the time. And it was just like, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I'm hoping Josh can do it this year.
Yeah. And I spent many years at Houghton College, and so I gained an appreciation for the Bills. But then growing up, my dad and I shared the Giants, but he also loved the Bills because it was just this, like you said, this story of just they're not giving up. It's time to do it. So I can't help but root for them, except for that one that we won't bring up in the Super Bowl. But the other one, the rest of them, I'm rooting for the Bills because it's that story. The people of Buffalo, I fell in love with it. The Mafia. And we go to games every year. My brother-in-law's from Rochester. I grew up in the Adirondacks, but now I live in New England, about 30 minutes from Foxborough from the Patriots.
Yeah.
So it's awesome living here, being a Giants fan. Yeah. Anyway, so we go every year. Every year we go to at least a Bills Pats game. That's tradition.
Cool.
With a family, or a Giants Pats, or a Giants Bills, but especially with the Bills Pats, it's so cool to get together. We're all walking in with the Bills jerseys on. it's just this family,
Yes.
that family thing. It's so great.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
man.
growing up and then going to Kingdom Mountain and all that stuff, it's just like I love it. I love that whole area.
Yeah, man, it's like, it's a town that needs that team to win. It's kind of like Indianapolis here, it's like it's a working class town, and it's like when the sports teams are doing okay, it's a totally different vibe in the city. They got their new stadium at Highmark this year, so that'll be really cool.
Oh yeah,
them playing that.
It was cool tailgating, watching it go up, like
yes,
and now it's there. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So just one last little thing here about this. I'm a real snob about wings, right? And
oh boy,
do you like wings?
I do.
Yeah,
the band.
Well, not. I don't really love the band. The band's okay. It's cool.
You gotta let it live and let die. Okay, cool.
It's fine. It's fine. But no, and most people get buffalo wings really wrong. Like, everywhere else in the country, people are like baking their wings, and it was like it's an absolute abomination, And so, anyways, we go back to Buffalo once, maybe once a year to see my mom's side of the family. Our favorite place to go is called Duff's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you Duff's or Anchor Bar? Yeah.
I like Anchor Bar,
right.
but I'm Duff's, right?
Okay, good.
So Duff has started franchising.
Okay.
And it's just so funny because like of all the places, they opened one in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, which is it's like south of Louisville by like half an hour.
Yep.
So the other day, when we were in Buffalo last summer, we took all our nephews, my brother and I, we go, listen, boys, this is an institution. Like, this is the best buffalo wings you're gonna get. This is right. And then my brother and I always have a tradition where we do the whole thing, and then we eat one dipped in their death sauce, which is like this.
It's nuts.
500,000. You've had it? You've had the death?
No, but my roommates in college, I can't handle spice, like really spicy. But my roommates in college did, and they were hurting.
Oh, it's brutal.
Yeah,
it's just it's day ruining brutality.
Yep.
I don't really love hot sauce. Like, I'm not going to sit down and eat 12 of those things tossed in death sauce. Right. But my brother and I always have one, and it's just like the nephews love to watch us, just like But so we took them to Duff's in Buffalo, and then last week when they were on spring break, we all drove down to the Duff's in Kentucky and had it there. It was great. So I'm like, it's just like, of all the places they could build a new Duff's, it's like 2 hours from me in the Midwest.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So weird.
I'll have to go there. I go to work in Louisville quite a bit, so
do you really?
I'll go down to E-Town sometime. Yep.
Cool, man. Yeah, go down to E-Town to the Duff's, and they kind of built it to look like the original place. The only difference is it's like a sports bar in there. The original Duff's is just like a little, very modest establishment. It's like a white building. It's not pretty. There's nothing about it that's elegant.
Very Western New York.
Yeah, but now it's franchised, so they got to make it look nice.
Exactly. And the one in E-Town, you walk in and it's just like there are like 300 TVs up in there playing like sports. So you're going like, all right,
sport possible. Yeah.
This is
too clean.
You're going, not everybody in E-Town is going to take wings seriously enough to come here. So we're going to need the sports bar vibes to get them in. And then they're, whatever. So I was like, that's a concession I can understand as a guy with a small business.
Yeah,
I can understand
you take it.
I can understand the tiny concessions. Yeah. But it's like the wood bowls are there, the white building with the red trim.
Oh, I remember it well.
The whole they tried to recreate the whole thing, dude.
Wow. When did you move from Buffalo?
I moved out of Buffalo when I was like 8 years old, so that'd have been like 1986.
Okay.
Yeah. And my family, I met Tom. I moved to Missouri, met Tom in Missouri when we were in 4th grade, and then lived in Texas for a year and a half, and then I've been here in Indiana ever since I was a freshman in high school.
Got it.
And up in Indianapolis here for about the last 10 years.
Okay.
Nice.
This is just, I really like it here. Really like this town.
Sure.
A lot of the work that I've done has been on the coasts or whatever for, music stuff. We've done a lot of stuff in New York and LA primarily, and Nashville, but never like officially, but from about 20, maybe 17, 18, 19 in there, just out there all the time. It's always so good to just come back here. And I love it out there, but I don't know. I guess maybe I just like being a neighborhood guy here,
Sure. Yeah. And yeah.
You wrote a song about it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about kind of. I feel like the sense that I get from the things that you've shared is that you really do love Indianapolis. You love Indiana in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's even having lived other places, like it seems like that's the place that kind of holds your heart.
Mm-hmm.
What's your view on the city? Because it's a very cool city, I will say, from my brief visits there.
It is cool, and I think that I think it's just about the people for me. So music is a business that sort of tends to lend itself to the vanities of life, and you go and you talk to people, and a lot of time it's you're talking to people who just want to know what you can do for them or how you're going to kind of fit into their plans, and working the way up the greasy ladder. But you often have this feeling like you're talking to people like in music a lot, that you meet them and they're sort of in a gear that is meant to impress, not to connect. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm just at a point where I just really like connections with people. I would come back from travels and walk into the coffee shop here in my neighborhood and, Owen, we missed you, man. How are you?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that's just stuff that you can find that everywhere. But for me, I just kind of found that the most consistently here. And my neighbors, obviously my family, but there was just the people here to me seemed to be, I don't know, a big reason of the appeal for me. They just seemed genuinely interested in my life and in my heart. And so my community, yeah, that's the appeal for me. Now, I do think that it's obviously, the sports thing is kind of what drives pretty much everything here.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing our best to kind of create a little bit more of a fertile music scene. We're just trying to contribute to. That's something I feel like I can help with. I don't think it's the type of thing where it's like, hey, put together a school of rock. It's not that. It's just more like just by virtue of doing good work. And having some cool things happen. So if we, one of our artists gets placed in a big movie or something like that, their music gets placed in a big movie, I think that has a way of just, it's a de facto inspiration for people around here. Other guys in bands going like, wow, what, how'd that happen? Just like, hey, it can happen anywhere. It can happen anywhere, but it's got to be good.
Mm.
Your competition isn't just your buddies here in Indianapolis. If you're a pop artist, your competition is the weekend. Or if you're, a rock artist, then your competition is, I don't know, Greta Van Fleet,
right,
whatever.
Right.
And so it's like there's almost like you realize that there's so much education that needs to take place. And a lot of, like I do these things, where I'll go and listen to kids' records and they'll come in here and play stuff and come into the studio, or I'll go to see some listening session or something like that where I'll ask for feedback, and they'll play a thing and they'll go like, okay, so what do you think about the way I mixed it? And I go, I don't really care. I just like good songs. So how many songs would you say that you wrote to get to this one? Well, I wrote that one, so I recorded it. And it's like, so that, for example, is a thing to me where I was like, well, I got to write 200 to get to 10 decent ones. You know what I'm saying? So just things like that, that type of, those are things that towns like ours really need, is just that competitive support that I was talking about earlier, where it's like some of the very basic, or a lot of kids are really, really focused on promo, because you live in an age where it's almost like the influencer has now become the artist. And so you've got a situation where every kid, picks up a guitar or starts programming. And then before they know it, they go like, I got budget so much time in the day for my music, and then so much time in the day for my socials or my influencing kind of life, because that's what music is now.
Right. Right.
And I'm kind of old school about this, but I'm going, it doesn't have to be like that. I think you can actually focus on the work, make good songs, and then over time sort of find your internet language, which is tenable for you, makes sense to you. And then, but you certainly don't. I've had so many kids come in here and go like, I just can't get the promo right. I can't get the promo right. And you realize that they're so focused on the promo that they don't even think about the music, like they don't think about it in earnest. Where to me, it's always like, give everything you can to the work itself, to the art itself, be as real as you can and as great as you can. And the other stuff tends to work out, I do think that there is a little bit of influencer fatigue occurring right now. I think that generally speaking, I think a lot of people are getting back to the basics of things. It's almost like what Nirvana was when I was in high school. There was a lot of like fame and this air of, all this kind of extreme extravagance and hair. right. And I kind of missed so much hair. And I kind of missed that whole, I didn't listen to a lot of that stuff, right? I found the 80s like later on in my life when I got into synthesizers, but I was there for grunge and all that. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, I think that there's a little bit of that spirit starting to infiltrate, TikTok and stuff where people are going, yeah, I don't know that getting up every day and, doing this thing is a grind I want to be on, where I got to post, every day and just maintain, Mm-hmm. And so, I'm always the type who's, going like, hey, you try to do the thing that you really like, try to do the thing that's sustainable. Mm-hmm. If you're not posting on Instagram 5 times this week, but you wrote a song you're really proud of, that this week was a win, So mm-hmm. Anyways, that's the type of stuff that I would like to contribute to around here. We got sports is good in a town like this. The live concert business is good. And there's a lot of cool little, the Idle is great. We have a great arts museum and, all that kind of stuff is good. The food scene's great. But I would love to be a contributing part of just kind of getting that cutthroat kind of competitive support thing going and helping calibrate the artists around here towards excellence and kind of like, that's what I hope we can keep
that and the return of grunge. I think we're ready for something, right?
Well, our artist Frank is doing that. Like she has a lot of that. She really loves that stuff. She came in.
She opened for the first night of the Elms 25, right? So
yes. So that was her first show. So
oh wow.
So basically, like she came in here the other day. I don't know. You know much about grunge, Brock? Like you into grunge?
Here and there.
Oh boy. I am.
I think I was a little bit too young to like really get all the stuff. Pete is going to fill in the gaps for me. I know.
That was my scene.
A super side note. You mentioned Post Malone. Have you heard his stuff fronting the Nirvana guys?
Yep.
He
did it live. Yeah, he did that stuff live too. Yeah,
and that was probably one of my prized record store day pickups from last year. So
awesome.
Yeah. So
that kid Andrew Watt,
mm-hmm.
You know that kid,
mm-hmm.
the producer.
Mm-hmm.
He's into all this. He's into all of it. He's a little younger than me, but he's like pulling, Miley into that world, and he's like pulling a lot of. You can tell he's just kind of got a real passion for that era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sydney. Frank, her name's Sydney. She came in here the other day. She had this artist called Bam Bam that she had heard. Do you know Bam Bam?
I've heard of Bam Bam.
I don't.
I've heard of. I couldn't place it but I know I've heard of it.
It was a grunge band.
Okay.
Matt Cameron from Soundgarden was their first drummer.
Okay.
And
Pearl Jam.
Yep, and Pearl Jam. Incredible drummer.
Yep.
He was their first drummer, and they were a 4-piece rock band fronted by a black female. And
yes. Okay.
I'm trying to remember her name. It's Lisa, I believe. I'm trying to remember her name. I can't remember. It's been a few weeks since Sid and I talked about this. But Sydney came in and she had found Bam Bam. And they have this song called Ground Zero. And she just loves it. And so she gave me a whole education on Bam Bam. But when you listen to it, apparently Kurt was one of their first roadies kind of thing. Like
really?
And Matt Cameron was in the band and all this kind of stuff. So when you listen to them, it's very rough recordings, like in very, low, kind of lo-fi and gnarly. Tina Bell, not Lisa. Tina Bell.
It's close, yeah.
Thank you, Pete.
And she's just like so cool. Like when you look at photos of her and stuff, you're just like, wow, what an amazing. And they don't have a ton of stuff on YouTube, but they do have a few videos. And it's funny because they're very like, they're not great. You know what I'm saying? It's like, looks like they got a local production company or something to me. So it wasn't like they were going to LA.
It's like a VHS camcorder on your shoulder sort of situation.
Totally. And they're out standing up by the sound and just singing, kind of to the thing. And the guys in the band are just walking behind her, but she's so cool. And but you know, like Sid came in the other day and she was just like, I found this group Bam Bam, and when you listen to them, you can hear like the genetics of Kurt's riffage and chord progressions. You hear it and you go like, okay, I can see. It's almost like, you remember how Charlie XCX kind of took the hyperpop thing and pushed it to like, she put songs inside the chaos. It's almost like when I listen to Bam Bam, I think of Kurt going, he took this thing and found this shape of chords and these interesting this dissonance, and he made it massive. But you can hear the influence of Bam Bam. It's just kind of a cool. And her son is a filmmaker and made a documentary on Tina Turner, which won an Oscar. So yeah, cool. So I've been thinking about, you know, like reaching out to him, because Sydney was like, I kind of want to record that song, Ground Zero. And so I was like, yeah, let's go, you know. So I was going to reach out to him and kind of go, hey, I think that Tina Bell passed away. Oh man, I feel like it was like 5 or 10 years ago or something. But just a classic case scenario of somebody who broke ground, and almost like Nick Drake.
Like, you know, very well respected now, but never really got their due in the scene.
Like the band called Death did for punk way back, because nobody knew about them.
Yeah.
And then they got it later on. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I think she probably obviously was there for the grunge movement and all that, but I think now people are starting to realize, when you listen to Bam Bam, you go, okay, it's funny because she really could have been like a star.
Yeah.
You know, remember that movie Anvil? Remember that band Anvil? It was just this band that they kind of came up during the Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer and all that kind of stuff, but they just never kind of broke out, you know. And they made a documentary about them, about this band. It was kind of like, like the band that all these other bands know about, but you don't, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like Tina could have done that, and I think she lived long enough to see the grunge movement take place and see her city kind of rise up in culture and all that stuff. But hopefully she was appreciated in her time, because I look at Bam Bam and I go like, there's a lot going on here that certainly could have shaped what we know. Because Matt was in the band,
right?
You know,
explains a lot.
Yeah, totally. So it's kind of a nice rabbit hole, and to kind of jump down. It's not a super deep one. There's not like a ton of coverage. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember now that I'm putting it together, I looked it up real quick. I remember seeing, I watch CBS Sunday Morning every now and again, or at least watch the YouTube videos, and they have a whole thing about Bam Bam. And I remember that was like 4 years ago, and I remember watching that, and now putting the face to the name when you said the female fronted, and I looked at the picture, I'm like, oh yes, bingo,
totally, yeah.
It was so good that they do good stuff on like these little things that you wouldn't like. They go to the positivity, and they look at like the Sunday Morning stuff, and that was amazing to see that little piece on her, because she died in what? I mean, I'm looking right now, 2012, and to see like them talk about her years later, it's so cool.
Yeah, and she just like I just wonder sometimes if they realize the impact, because Nick Drake never could have known. If you listen to all that organic music, singer-songwriter, everybody from Gracie Abrams all the way down to Stephen Wilson Jr. and all the way down to like, you know, I mean, even Wilco and all that kind of lane, right? It's like Nick Drake is just there. It's all soaking in Nick Drake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't think
he's the grandfather of us all.
Yeah, right. But I don't think he ever got a chance to sort of really know that his music would have such an influence.
Right.
Just, I think of his guitars, that thumpy old dead guitar sound. So it's just how it's everything for so many people right now. But
Yeah, I was trying to remember if Bam Bam was in Hype, because I remember watching Hype a couple of years ago, and there was that it's a 1996 documentary about the Seattle scene, and I feel like she must have been in there for one or 2 seconds at least, but I don't recall. It's been long enough now since I've seen the film but I also feel like I remember hearing about it when she passed, maybe like Seattle friends were telling me, you know, oh, she passed, and so
iconic, you know, and groundbreaking.
Yeah,
Pete, what's a grunge band that you feel like never quite got their due?
That's a hard thing because now I'm just thinking about Bam Bam right now. So it's like, but oh man, I'll have
No
to
pressure.
think about that. Yeah, no, I was I was in high school during the kind of the hype of the grunge kind of movement, but I was late. I was kind of late to it, because growing up conservative, whatever. But I'd see the Kurt Cobain T-shirts.
Yeah.
There was always this one kid that would wear the Kurt Cobain T-shirt in school, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't know if I'm into it. And then I listened to that music, and I'm like, okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
We'd have WEQX. It was a huge station up out of Vermont, but it was blanketed New York, and they'd play all kinds of great stuff from that era. So I don't know. I don't know if I can pinpoint one that never got their due,
Well,
but
let me know. Let me know if there's.
yeah, I will for sure.
Did you ever listen to Failure?
I have heard some Failure. Yep.
They have this song called "Stuck on You."
Okay.
I reference it literally probably 3 times a week when I'm making records. It's like one of those bands from that probably a little bit later than the grunge, like mid to late 90s. And I'm just like, this is such a massive song. It's just so heavy and it's just so cool, But Failure. Do you remember that band, Brock? Do you know Failure?
I don't know them either. Honestly, I feel like I'm letting down Seattle right now. But in my defense, I was listening to Grandma Train at the time.
Oh yeah,
so
I know those.
That was probably they were the Seattle sound for the forefront audience.
Yep.
So
that's what I could listen to back then. Yeah, with Grandma Train. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like it's funny because I was raised in an evangelical household too, but I still really found that stuff. And it was almost like I think my parents were part of a thing where it was like you're not supposed to listen to that stuff, but they didn't really care. And I found myself, I'll never forget the night that I was 15 years old and had headphones on listening to Nine Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral in my room, and having almost a panic attack because of how just different and how strange and terrifying it kind of was. And then just, getting The Cure. I found a lot of these artists kind of in the mid stage of their career, like Tom Petty and The Cure and stuff like that. But I found The Cure with Wish, and listening to that whole record, and just, at the time, like the ones that had a huge impact on me were like Versus and In Utero. And but then like August and Everything After, the Counting Crows record.
Huge.
And my mom would always, I'd be up in my room doing homework, and she would come up and say, turn the music off. And I was like, Mom, I want to listen to it. She goes, I know you won't listen. You won't do your homework. You'll sit up here and play air drums for hours and you will not, you won't do your homework. And, or getting, just like Tool, getting like Tool's record and listening to that on headphones and just feeling like it's just such a different experience when you're a kid. And I really want that for my nephews,
Yeah, the whole new world to open up as you listen to something.
But it's you made a good point. Like I made light of the Grandma Train, but like for me, I'm thankful that I grew up in a house too where I was exposed to the Beatles, I was exposed to the Beach Boys, I was like Ready Steady Go, all the British Invasion stuff,
sick,
and then like I'd listen to something because like I was very much like EQX was not a evangelical station, right? It was like a rock station that I listened to in the car on my way to school with my mom, who's a teacher, and I remember like whenever the Toadies Possum Kingdom one would come on,
classic,
right? This just brought up a great memory. I would be singing along, and I'd be like, "Do you want to die?" My mom would go, "No,"
to yourself.
And I would start. So after a while, I would just start.
Stop.
I would start singing it to my mom. I'd be like, "Do you want to die?" No. Like, and we had a great laugh about that every time we went on a road trip going across the country, and I put that song on. She goes, "No, Peter, no, let's not do this." I'm like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah.
I go by Pete, but when she pulls out the Peter, I was like, okay,
Peter,
yep.
That means we're up against it now.
Yeah. But like, it was really cool to like, I'd be listening to an album and my dad would be like, all right, what are you listening to? I want to hear this. And because he appreciated like all that musical style too. And so we shared that. Yeah, I'm listening to the Christian stuff and the Grandma Train and whatever. But hey, it's all right if you go listen to this too, because I appreciate that style of music too. So it was cool.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your dad liked Earthsuit, right? He was a big fan of.
They were awesome.
Earthsuit kicked ass.
Because didn't you guys share the bill on that Festival con Dios? They were on that too.
Yeah, we did. I think we were birds of a feather on that tour, feeling like, well,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess we're
the only ones
here.
who get it.
Yeah, we're stuck here for the next couple of months doing this together. But they were just incredible, and Adam, their lead singer, obviously Paul, is done the Mute Math thing and all that, and we just had 21 Pilots here this weekend in town for the final four thing. He's working on a ton of their stuff.
All that stuff. Yeah,
he's just a mad genius. And then but their lead singer was this guy named Adam, and he was just such a weirdo, but like so cool. Like you would just watch him, and he would have these moments where he would just stand there and just freeze or just do these. So you would just be like, this guy is so cool. But they were a real band. Like they were a real.
Oh gosh, they were on Sparrow too. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and Sparrow took a flyer, I think, for a minute there on a few bands, thinking that there might be a mainstream sort of element to what they do, and I just don't think it lasted very much. And
Sparrow never became the sound of the youth.
Never.
They tried.
No,
they tried. Newsboys and all that. They tried, but
yeah.
Amy Grant.
Yeah, man. I just like, but they took a flyer on Luna Halo and Chasing Furies.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think if there was anybody else, but it was like those four bands, and we were all kind of on there and kind of, I think feeling the same way, which is like, everybody felt like they had the resources to make a cool record and all that. And then you was like, well, and then what do we do with it? But fortunately, we at least had some other things opening up and just had to go follow our own path. But I can't think of one of those bands that ever Luna Halo might have had a song that did it, but we had a song that went out on radio on CHR and did a little damage. I think we had a couple songs that did that. But yeah, no, those bands just, I think.
Yeah.
And I talked to Adam from Earthsuit, not recently, but like a few years ago. I wrote him up on Instagram and just said, "Yo, dude, what's going on?" And we back and forth a little bit. And but I think they were a New Orleans band, and they just really had that kind of mystical thing in their stage presentations. It was wild. It was just
he's got a restaurant now, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's freaking cool.
Of course he does.
Yeah, like north of Nashville.
Yeah.
Oh, really? He's in Nashville now. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
I will send me the name of his restaurant. I'll go in there next time.
I want to say it was called Mystic Picnic.
I believe it's like Mystic Picnic or something like that.
Right, which is because
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That tracks.
I wanted to go when I was in Nashville, but like you can only do so many things. It was far enough outside of town. It would have been like I didn't have enough time to go to Memphis, so I didn't have enough time to go to Springfield or whatever it is. Just like it was like an hour north or something. So
you didn't go to Memphis?
I did not go to Memphis. See, that's the problem. I got to go back.
Oh, Memphis was great.
Rendezvous.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll get the ribs.
Yeah, right. Not the wings.
No.
Memphis isn't known for its wings.
No, dry rub.
Well, so here's the thing. Am I just learning tonight that it's called Buffalo Wild Wings because they're from Buffalo, the city? Am I? Is like the
Buffalo
last
Wild
time?
Wings is not from
not from the city. Okay, all right.
But the wing itself originated in Buffalo.
So
Like that
buffalo
style.
sauce. Yes.
Right.
I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, but I think that the way that it got started was there was a woman who either owned a restaurant or I'm not sure. Was it Anchor Bar?
I believe it was. They say it's Anchor Bar was the originator. Yeah.
Yeah, and the wings were originally kind of like the throwaway pieces of the bird, and so they would rip the birds apart, and feed the breast to the people who were paying for nice dinners and stuff, and then she collected the leftovers and took them home and fried them up and made them for family.
There you go.
And stuff like that. And then it became kind of a thing. And I think she developed her own sauce and things like that. And then it became like, hey, those things are pretty good.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Love those.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was from the stage that you were talking, because I saw you Kingdom Bound and you talked about being from Buffalo. And that's how I remember that anecdote.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we used to go to Fantasy Island and all those places.
Oh yeah,
it's like I always love getting back there and, jeez, driving by our old house and going. And all these places have changed so much.
Oh yeah,
and but it's still really cool to. Last summer we went out to the beach, and like the Lake Erie beach.
Yes, right.
And you're sitting there, it's like freezing freaking cold, and there's like these giant barges out in the middle of the freaking lake, and also my nephews are going, yeah, it's kind of the beach.
Yeah, right.
Of a sort.
That was the beach to us. Yep.
Beach-like.
There's water. There's granular ground. It's
right. Yeah.
I grew up on Lake George, so like being out there, it was still it's a beach.
Yeah. Always love going to the falls though. Next, we didn't get over to the other side because Canadian side's the good side for the.
That's the good side, right? Yep.
Like that place always blows my mind. Every time I'm at the falls, I'm always like, this is awesome. This is so mega, So, yeah, I think we're going to go back again this summer, so I'll keep you posted.
I got to see that sometime. Yeah, this is on my list of great American things I've never seen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, it's spectacular.
It's amazing. Mm-hmm.
Well, we've had you for 2 hours. I feel like that's probably more than we would expect anyone to give. So thank you for putting up with the chicanery, etc. I did want to say thank you for all of the Elms music, the entire catalog, because it means something to me, including the sidetracked stuff and all this, and whatever else I can dig up. I think someone recently connected me with the Garden Show record, and so that's going way back, right? It's
man, that's something I was hoping you'd never find.
I know it's. I won't speak of it again. I promise.
No, it's just like I was probably 15 when we made that.
Right.
I was playing saxophone on that record and everything. Like saxophone. I graduate when I graduated high school. I was really good at saxophone.
Alto, tenor. What was your speed?
Alto and soprano.
Cool.
Tenor and Barry were too big for me. Yeah. Like I'm kind of like not that big a guy, so I was like I'd have a tenor and I'd be like, it's freaking heavy,
I played alto in high school, so
nice.
I always ask.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I was just like really good at it, and I got a scholarship to play it. And I was gonna, you remember Jars of Clays? They went to Greenville College.
Oh right, yeah.
It was a liberal arts school in Illinois, and
half those guys are from Rochester. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It turns out if you become successful as a band, then you can get honorary music degrees from Greenville, as I understand.
Oh, no.
Never tried it, but I heard I heard that Jars all got the degrees because they're Jars. So
well, that makes sense. I should go over there and go. We just put a bunch of asses in the hi-fi. Where's that get me?
Yep.
Get me a degree. Yeah. Get me a degree around here. But yeah, so I like.
Yeah.
Well, they had just gone to school there, and they were kind of like it was almost like Greenville College was hot. Because Jars of Clay had just gone there and graduated. It was almost like they had the magic dust at Greenville College. So I got a scholarship to play sax, play my horn at Greenville College. But then the summer before going to college, our band at the time, the band that you have the Garden Show record of, basically our church band, we were just playing all the time. All the time. We were playing, 2-3 times a week. And I was like, and it was starting to get to the point where it was obvious that wasn't going to last, but I had legs underneath this thing with my brother. And I was like, if I'm going to do this band thing, it's just like now or never. So that's where I kind of decided to forego college and just dive right into getting on the road. And then within probably 2 years of that, we were making records, and doing the thing.
That's the blue collar version of the honorary degree, I think.
Okay, fair enough. See if like Ivy Tech will give me a honorary degree, like IUPUI. Somebody here, and
right.
I don't even know if there's. I don't think there's any college enterprise in Seymour where we had the thing.
Well, hey, John Foreman from the Switchfoot always talks about dropping out of college, and I think he did all right too. So I think you did all right.
Oh, he's awesome. We actually we did some playing with them because they were on the label too, and he was the first one that ever.
Wow,
that's right. Yep.
Yeah, they were on this other little imprint that Charlie Peacock had started.
Yep.
And it was the Rethink thing, and we were playing a show with John one night, and we were just talking about writing songs and stuff like that. And he goes, I just try to write one every day. And I kind of went like, that's probably good. Because for me, it always came like in waves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I would write, for like 2 or 3 months in a row, I would write, 2 or 3 songs a day. And then it would just dry up, but then it would come back. And it was funny at the top of COVID, I have a ton of songs that I've written that I'm figuring out the right way to, put them to work and, record them at some point. But at the top of COVID, when we all kind of got locked up at home and all that stuff, I took a guitar home with me and my computer and was just sitting there. And I was probably writing 4 or 5 songs a day for about 3 weeks. Whoa. And so I just wrote like, probably 100 songs or something. And kind of whittled them down to like my favorite 10. So this has been 5 or 6 years now. But I went out to LA and I was making a record out there and had a day or two with a buddy of mine, an engineer by the one I was telling you about earlier. And we kind of wrapped up work on this other record and he goes, "You got anything else?" And I said, "Well, I got my guitar. Let me just bang out a few of these demos and just kind of commit these." And so I got them on tape. And so I really like them. I pull them up once in a while. I listen to them and I go like, yeah, I need to record these. These are really kind of cool little songs. And one of those was What a Time to Be Alive, which we put out earlier this year.
Yes. Yeah,
that was kind of one that I was kind of sitting on for a minute, but then I kind of worked on it a little more as we started to put together the plans for this year. And but I've got a bunch of other songs that I'm looking forward to. It's not really a priority for me right now. I've got other artists and things like that I'm really passionate about, but at some point I'm going to try to figure out how to get my songs more into this world of the synthesis and stuff like that and feel like, okay, can I make like electronic folk records? Or I don't know. Something like whatever the style of music that I bang out, like just
sure.
easy, simple songs, but try to do it in a way that doesn't feel like it pulls any of the tissue out of the guitar and voice thing. But yeah, we'll see. But that's
awesome.
Anyways, I guess if you're going to go listen to the Garden Show record, go ahead. But it's also like, it's freaking wild, man.
I had to hear it once, right? I just to know where it all came from. But
we had this. The GMA used to do these competitions. The Gospel Music Association. They were called Spotlight. And we had this song on that record, and it was called Jug of Pennies, and it was about. Like just about being poor, but not really being poor, being rich because you got, your eternal security. And so we went and played that song in Chicago. We kind of like, submitted a demo tape, and this is Tom and Chris and I, and we re-recorded that song. So it might've been a later version of that song, but we recorded it and sent it to the GMA, and they said, "Hey, you've made the cut to come to Chicago and perform in the Spotlight competition." So we went up there, and after we got done playing the song, I'll never forget it because my brother had taken a jug, like an old, like a glass, almost like a whiskey jug. And at the end of the song, we got done playing the song, and he got up from behind his drums and walked out to where I was standing at the front of the mic, and he took a handful of pennies and like held it up to the mic and dropped them all in the jug. And it was like, just this like really loud sound effect. And people were just like, and we won the thing.
So good.
Props,
like sound effects.
Props have some
sound
meaning,
effects.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Got to have the props.
Amazing.
And then we went to Nashville and played. That was our first introduction to the kind of like whole, more formal scene of CCM and all that stuff. And
right.
all these the way these people kind of lived and moved and all that. Yeah, man. There's just like
crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like a whole different. That was a different life or something like that.
Yeah,
and
you made it out. Congratulations. It's nice not to be constrained by that system at this point, right? To be like, I don't have to do the same thing I was doing 20 years ago just because it's what they expect.
No, man, no. I just feel like for me, I've always been like, I want to, whether it's true or not, I want to feel like my best days of offering the world my best creative energy is always ahead of me, and not behind me. And so that's why I'm a little hesitant to even about like, oh, hey, because that's another thing people say all the time is just kind of like, you guys should at least do this once a year and just do this. And I'm just like, kind of like, I don't really want to do that because it just for some reason the way that
I'm looking forward.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look forward and stuff like that. And I love my band. I loved what we did, and I love those dudes. I love all of it, but I'm also like, I'm just kind of thinking about the future all the time and what I'm doing today. And you'd be shocked at how much just like getting us all back together in a room.
No doubt.
And just like planning a show and all that stuff. It's just like the way we do it anyways is a lot. Like it's a lot of work. It's not the type of thing. It's like, I'll just get up there and go like, it's just this thing on the weekend. We'll just go do it.
It's not easy. Right.
No, because I think all of us are as concerned about some sort of legacy of this whole thing. That's why whenever it ended, it almost felt like, I think this is the type of thing it's time to let go of, you know, and not try to like, and we have been touring with bands, you know, like, well, like the Goo Goo Dolls, for example. And they were like, this was at a time when it was like, they weren't exactly the hottest. Like they're like massive again now because Iris is like this viral thing, right?
Right.
Another Buffalo band
having an anniversary.
Well, that's why they had us on tour.
Yeah.
So they had us on tour. Get this, dude.
Yep.
They had us on tour because they heard that my brother and I were from Buffalo, listened to the records, loved it. And then we went on the road and did a few shows with them. And then they were like, we want to take you guys out on the whole tour. And we're like, let's go. Then they found out that we had association with a Christian label and cut it off. Like at some point like early on, they were like, they were like, oh wait, you guys,
what good can come from Nazareth? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like you guys, you're on a Christian label, and they found some press online that was like from some Christian publications and things like that, and they were like, we don't want to touch any of this, and so kind of like, right.
Yeah.
You know, and you have your manager call them up and go like,
that's it.
You know, and so that's, I don't know what the end sort of like lesson from that is. But suffice it to say, it's like,
never do press for CCM. That's the lesson. Right? Never talk to CCM magazine about anything.
Yeah, kids, don't go to college.
But you bring that up because I when I saw Goo Goo Dolls, most recently Switchfoot was opening up for him. So
cool. Yeah.
So they did that tour for a little bit. So I hope they came out of that and said, oh, okay, some Christians are all right, you know, like, you know, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, and Switchfoot's good for some tickets, you know, like they've had an incredible in their own way. I feel like they've had this really, really cool kind of enduring career.
Right.
And I think that's just because of John's songs. I mean, he's such a good person, and he just has always, I think, really put himself in those songs in the most vulnerable way that an artist can. And I haven't listened to a lot of their music recently, but I always remember that about him, about going, I think this guy is the real thing. Yeah. Like he's really putting himself inside this music as much as we can, as writers can. So
I think that
helps not to be an asshole, right? It's just like,
well,
like you're not going to see Skillet and Goo Goo Dolls sharing a bill, probably.
But I think that's how they overcame the like Christian persona, was because he got enough cred from songwriting and from being like in Walk to Remember and stuff like that. So it's like if they're just looking, so Goo Goo Dolls way back is just looking at this one little bit of press. Like that, that makes sense. But now it's like all these years later, they switch. But they're looking, oh yeah, you got this press, but then you got all these other things too. So it's like, I guess that makes sense, you know.
Yeah, and we had been playing with bands like Goose and playing with bands like, there was this band called Cracker. Do you remember Cracker? So we did a tour with Cracker. They had some huge songs when I was a kid, and we were touring with them. And I was like watching their kind of careers, and I was kind of going like, see, I just don't. I mean, respect to those bands
for sure.
You know what I'm saying? But there's this thing that I just did not want our band to disintegrate into in my own mind, where it was just like all we're doing is just trying to hold on to something that had a moment, and now we're just I just felt like I needed to let go of that, and I just didn't want to turn into some kind of like nostalgia act or something like that, which we were never a big enough band to like go out there and fill sheds with our hits from the 90s. But at the same, I just didn't want to feel like that, you know. So almost like that moment, that's why when we do play, it's like once every 5 years or 10 or whatever it is, it's like it's got to make like this symmetrical sense to me, and also I have to feel like it's got a reason. I have a reason to do it other than just like, well, hey man, let's get the band back. I just don't have that kind of hardwiring, you know.
Sure.
Or to just like to hang on to that whole thing, or let alone, because people was like, we made that song, and I was like, look, it's the 25th anniversary, and then it's like, well, when's the album, and when are we doing an album, and the guys, you know, and I'm just like, no, that was the one. Like, that was like, I think that like, it's not because I wouldn't enjoy it, but it's just like, it's it's hard. It's hard to get all the guys together and do the thing and all that kind of stuff. And we all have our pursuits, and I'm okay with that little season of my life being that thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I'm just grateful for it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Very good.
Cool little band, though. Cool little band.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and again,
Good time
the
of life.
whole catalog.
Pretty cool.
I'm a big fan, so I got to say
Thanks,
thank
man.
you. The whole
too.
premise of this podcast has become just kind of like we have to give people their flowers. We have to say thank you. We have to make sure you know that you were heard and appreciated, and that it means quite a lot to us. This is how the world will end. We probably talk about that song for a long time. I'm not suggesting that we do now because we've already talked for a long time. But that was it was huge when it first came out. I first heard it on MySpace, I think, like the demo version or whatever. And I was like, this is meaningful to me. This carries some weight. And it's a song that stuck with me. I've got the lyrics on the wall behind me.
Amazing. I love that.
It's a big
Brock.
deal.
Thank you, dude.
Especially like, we're recording on a night when, who knows what's going to happen. The world could potentially end. That could happen anytime, but it just seems like more people are thinking about it right now. But the idea that, we lose our humanity when we give it away to power and we give it away to greed, and we hold on to our humanity and to each other when we can all still share some kind of a conversation, some kind of a space. And so that was really important, has been important to me for a long time. I appreciate you putting that into the song like you did.
I love all of that. Thank you for saying that, man. That is so meaningful and well articulated, and I'm glad that the song has meant so. I love that one. Every time I remember even writing it and feeling like I think this one's good, like, and feeling like this had like, and we played it when we played it last year. I was just kind of like, it's just one of those things that feels like it matters maybe in a different way that songs about girls don't, or something like that. And you hope to stumble across a couple of those in your life. And so that's one of those ones that I really like. And I remember when we made that song and recorded it, we really wanted this guy to mix that last record that we made. And his name was Adam. Tom probably told you about him, Adam Casper. He had mixed all these, he'd made REM records, and he had made, all the Queens of the Stone Age stuff. And he made verses with Pearl Jam, made all this cool records out in Seattle at Studio X.
Yeah.
And I just wrote him, and I just said, hey man, he sent him a CD, and like all that stuff. And he called me while we were at the studio finishing up that record. And he said, I think this song's really special, and I just really would love to mix your record. And I just so I even feel like that song holds a special place in my heart, because those things mattered to me. Like when you would get a guy like that, who we all had a lot of reverence for and stuff like that, would hear something special. And I had experience. I was with Rick Rubin, not to be weird, but I was with him one time as working with a band and helped them make a bunch of music, and he was really into it. And it's almost like, it's like one of those things where you go, I don't know what's going to happen with this record or with my life, but it's nice that guy kind of liked it. Because I'm a student of his,
Super special.
But then even hearing something like you say that to me matters just as much. It's just a really cool feeling that something that you could make is, matters to somebody.
I appreciate you putting it out there. And if it helps, I'm not wearing shoes right now either.
Team
Great pull.
Man,
Great
that's
pull.
good. That's
great pull.
Love it.
Oh, well done, Brock.
I know.
Hey,
Scott, Pete, do you guys have anything else you wanted to ask about before we wrap it up?
Oh no, I'm thankful for the time and to kind of relive that era of the Elms and then talk about now. And I'm excited to check out Frank. Like, cool. I'm stoked to see kind of where you're at now, and I appreciate packaging. I appreciate stuff that is put into the visual experience as much as the musical experience, because they go hand in hand. So I'm stoked to check out what's going on with Absorb.
Please do. And she's really, really a great person and a great artist. And I think you'll hear some of the strains of your youth in her music. You know what I mean? From a 20-something-year-old girl who found it.
Come on. I mean,
later, and she's like, this thing with grunge. I'm like, I was there.
I remember.
Yes, come on.
It's good stuff.
I was standing at Karma Records at midnight when that record came out.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, so good.
Filthy grunge right in my ears.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
A pleasure, man. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
And that's the news from Lake Scabagan, where all the punctuation is strong, all of the well-rounded artist imagery is good-looking, and all of Owen Thomas's creative output and management is above average.
Oh, onward, pickle soldiers. Lovely.
What's your line, Scott?
Scott, do you think we did a perfect podcast or no?
Refuses to say the Jared line.
Oh, he won't say the Jared line. It's all part of the beef.
I can't. I would just dirty myself. I can't do that.
Well, more imperfect produce. Yeah.
I think we did another perfect podcast. I love you, Jared.
Yeah.
Kevin,
I agree.
Kevin, Jared, we missed you. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one and done for me. I'm hearing from your voice there, Pete.
Stick around after. We'll talk about future.
That's just kidding.
All right, boys.
All right, yes, another perfect
episode. Oh, hey, there it was. We got it. I'll use it.
Hey, Scott, stick around because we're going to do the Brockless pod.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. Well, adieu. I bid you adieu.
I can tell that Brock is leaving.
How many?
I said good day.
Yeah. All right. One thing I didn't want to say was he asked about underrated grunge bands, and I just didn't get it in. But my answer is Caius, which is Josh Homme's Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh, really? Oh. Yeah.
Caius kicks major butt.
Yeah,
major butt. I felt like he would know who that is.
I'm sure he would.
So, we're putting this one in the episode because then hey, Owen, if you know who Caius is, call back 985-28-SQUID. That's 985-287-7843. That's a real number. Please call. Let us know what you think of Caius. We'll put it on a future episode.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities, so do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
The right window treatments change everything. Your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 5-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 45% off site-wide, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.